Ji-hoon is a lawyer with a completely different lifestyle and style compared to those in the profession. Instead of wearing expensive suits and receiving high fees, he only charges 1,001 for legal fees, a symbolic number but contains a philosophy of life. Justice must belong to everyone, regardless of rich or poor. Ji-hoon's appearance is somewhat eccentric. Ji-hoon dresses sloppily. He even likes to joke around to surprise others. But when standing in court, Ji-hoon immediately becomes a sharp, intelligent, and brave lawyer. That's why Ji-hoon's winning rate is almost 100%. Today, a man borrowed money at high interest rates and could not pay his debts. Nam-dong thought that jumping from this tall building could help him escape. At this time, Ji-hoon suddenly appeared. Although Ji-hoon was very afraid of heights, he still tried to climb to the top floor because he had received a letter of authorization from Nam-dong. After Ji-hoon received 1,001, he promised to help Nam-dong out of trouble. After Ji-hoon knew where Nam-dong borrowed money from, Ji-hoon took his assistant to act together. They went straight to the loan shark's office to prepare to collect the debt. However, it seemed like no one was working there. Ji-hoon and his assistant sat down naturally, as if they were at home. They also ordered 2 servings of black bean noodles, and they ate while waiting for the loan sharks. But when the two of them had almost finished eating, they still hadn't seen the loan sharks arrive. Suddenly, a girl came in to check. The leader was a trainee prosecutor. Coincidentally, her side also received information about the investigation and came here. The girl thought that Ji-hoon and his assistant were bad guys, so she didn't give them a chance to finish the bowl of noodles. She directly poured the bowl of noodles on the table, but she didn't expect that they weren't the owners of this office. To ease the awkwardness, the girl introduced herself. Then she went to check the office herself. At this moment, the loan sharks returned. In order to prevent them from being captured by the girl, Ji-hoon told them to hire him as their representative lawyer to handle this matter. Because once the loan sharks were investigated, what awaited them was prison. These loan sharks were a group of cowards. As soon as they heard that, they quickly invited Ji-hoon to be their lawyer. Ji-hoon was just waiting for that and quickly revealed his abilities. Ji-hoon asked about Mari's inspection license. Then Ji-hoon slowly and calmly walked to the window to watch the sunset. Then Ji-hoon started counting down 5 seconds. Ji-hoon realized that something was unusual here. Ji-hoon said that the prosecutor had to follow the law. Mari was a little confused, until Ji-hoon said it was already past 7 p.m. Then Mari realized that she had been checking until dark and her inspection permit was only valid during the day. Just like that, Mari left angrily. Based on his ability to calculate, Ji-hoon quickly gave the loan sharks the lawyer's fee. The fee was 5 million won. The defense fee was 50 million won. The prosecutor's fee was 40 million won, plus the additional procedural fee of 5 million won. The total cost was 100 million won. Ji-hoon didn't forget to add the money for the 3 portions of jjajangmyeon. As a result, Nam-dong didn't have to pay the debt anymore. Not only that, the loan sharks also paid an additional 3 million won. After settling the matter, Ji-hoon calmly took a stack of money. The loan shark said that Ji-hoon had already calculated enough, but Ji-hoon thought that it was overtime pay. Even though the other party was unwilling, he still let Ji-hoon leave. After everything was resolved, Nam-dong didn't know what to say. Nam-dong could only use this little money to thank him. However, Ji-hoon refused. He also used the overtime pay to put it in Nam-dong's wallet. Ji-hoon said that with this money, Nam-dong would have a new life. After saying that, Ji-hoon patted Nam-dong's shoulder and told him to come find Ji-hoon if he had any problems in the future. Nam-dong was moved to tears after hearing this. Once again, Nam-dong sincerely thanked Ji-hoon, but Ji-hoon turned around and left. The next day, Ji-hoon's law office welcomed a new guest. The person who came was a happy family, but last night, the husband named Kang-ho only lightly bumped into a drunk man and was mistaken for a robber and was arrested. This was really absurd. After Ji-hoon carefully looked at the documents, he revealed an expression of disbelief. Kang-ho had been in prison 4 times before, all for theft. Ji-hoon really didn't want to help such a person. But when Ji-hoon saw their daughter being treated in the hospital, he couldn't help but feel moved. The little girl was still in the hospital with a heart condition, so Kang-ho couldn't do anything stupid and get himself arrested. So Ji-hoon decided to go see Kang-ho. Stepping out, Ji-hoon accidentally saw the scene of his wife having a headache because of the hospital bill. The assistant named Mu-jang couldn't help but go over. But after Mu-jang heard that the hospital bill was 130 million won, he almost fainted. Mu-jang himself was still staying at Ji-hoon's house, but because of his pride, Mu-jang still agreed to help her. After that, Ji-hoon went to find Kang-ho. Ji-hoon asked Kang-ho to use his daughter's name to guarantee that he really didn't steal this time. Kang-ho heard that and immediately gave an extremely sincere assurance. Ji-hoon felt a little relieved when Kang-ho affirmed so firmly. After going out, Ji-hoon took Mu-jang to look at the toilet because it was the crime scene. The two two of them went through all the places that Kang Ho had gone to test the hypothesis. Immediately after that, an extremely embarrassing scene appeared. The two men stood in the toilet for an hour observing. Finally, the target appeared. That person's name was Baek Jin, and he was also a drunk. When Baek Jin was about to fall, Ji-hoon quickly went to support him. Baek Jin quickly said thank you, but unexpectedly, Ji-hoon directly reached into Baek Jin's shirt and took the money bag. A moment later, the two of them were taken to the police station. At this time, Mujang also ran there. After Baek Jin received Ji-hoon's lawyer's business card, his attitude immediately changed. Even after the three of them went out, Baek Jin enthusiastically gave Ji-hoon his business card. Baek Jin was truly a reasonable person. What happened to Ji-hoon was just a misunderstanding, but for someone who had been in prison 4 times, it would be a theft. This was obvious, but for Kang Ho, it was unfair. Unexpectedly, the person interrogating Kang Ho was Ma-ri. After Ma-ri heard the opponent's lawyer request a trial, she was extremely angry and went to her superior. When Ma-ri followed her superior's gaze, she saw a man wearing a watch and sunglasses sitting there. Ma-ri did not expect to meet Ji-hoon here. The two recognized each other. Through the conversation between her superior, Ma-ri knew that Ji-hoon was also a prosecutor in the past, but later, Ji-hoon resigned to become a lawyer. Ma-ri angrily asked Ji-hoon what he meant by asking to attend the trial. Immediately after, she showed Ji-hoon the letter of repentance that Kang Ho had written. Without looking, Ji-hoon immediately tore the paper because he knew for sure that Kang Ho wrote this letter because he was thinking of his daughter. Ma-ri refused to listen to this reason. The superior standing next to him kept asking Ji-hoon that if Kang Ho could firmly say that he was innocent, then retrying the case would not be simple. If after the trial, Kang Ho was found guilty, he would have to spend more time in prison. But Ji-hoon still believed in his client. On the day of the trial, Ji-hoon brought a strange lunchbox. During the trial, Ji-hoon also asked the judge a question. If at a meal with the leader at a restaurant, would the judge eat meat dipped in sauce or soaked in sauce? This question made everyone laugh. Ma-ri saw that Ji-hoon was not serious, so she stood up and asked the judge to stop Ji-hoon from asking such questions. But Ji-hoon did not pay attention and continued to ask another strange question. Everyone likes steamed mandu or fried mandu. In the end, the judge still let one person answer the first question. She said that she liked dipping sauce better. Ji-hoon, after receiving the answer, immediately asked if no one asked the judge and just poured sauce directly on the food, would she be angry? The judge replied that she would not be happy, but she would not be angry either. Then the judge called a witness. The witness was also the person concerned, because at that time, Kang Ho's hand was on the person concerned's wallet. Moreover, the person concerned also knew that Kang Ho had been in prison 4 times for theft, so he was very sure that Kang Ho was the thief. At this time, Ji-hoon came over and started asking the person concerned if he had drunk alcohol that day, especially strong alcohol. The person concerned hesitated a bit and then said that he had only had 2 glasses of alcohol that day. Ji-hoon, seeing that the person in question did not admit it, Ji-hoon immediately showed a video clip showing that the person in question had gathered with friends that night. In the video, it was clear that the person in question not only mixed the strong alcohol himself, but also drank several glasses. This type of alcohol can easily cause the drinker to lose consciousness, so it can be proven that the person in question was drunk at the time, and the person in question could not clearly understand the situation at that time. At this time, Ma-ri stood up. As a prosecutor, she was still extremely steadfast in her opinion. Ma-ri presented a lot of evidence about Kang Ho's criminal record. Ma-ri also harshly said that Kang Ho had a habit of stealing since he was young, so he often went in and out of prison. How trustworthy could such a person be? Very quickly, the judge also felt confused, but the majority still leaned towards Ma-ri because they thought that the habit of stealing could not be changed. In the unstable situation, Ji-hoon had no choice but to use his last trick. This is also the evidence that proves Kang Ho is innocent. After the judge agrees, Ji-hoon opens the lunchbox. When Ma-ri sees the inside of the lunchbox, she is very surprised because there is nothing inside. This empty lunchbox is just like this case because no one has evidence to prove Kang Ho is guilty. But if all of Kang Ho's evidence is put in there, then doesn't that mean everyone says the defendant is guilty? Ma-ri, who is stubborn, grits her teeth and refuses to give up. Ma-ri thinks that if this is a failed robbery, they can use circumstantial evidence to prove it. Hearing that, Ji-hoon can only invite Kang Ho and the person involved to reenact the scene at that time. Ji-hoon tells the person involved to close his eyes and imagine that he is drunk. But as soon as Ji-hoon finishes speaking, the person involved's purse is in his hand. In just 3 short seconds, Ji-hoon was able to take the wallet. The person in question didn't even suspect a thing. This proved that the person in question wasn't drunk and was aware of the situation. However, Ji-hoon was still able to take the wallet easily. Kang Ho's previous 4 thefts were all caught a few days after the theft. Why was the person in question able to detect Kang Ho stealing this time while he was drunk? It was obvious that Kang Ho simply wanted to help the person in question. In the end, through the jury's vote, Kang Ho was found not guilty. This was the first time Mari had lost in court. Mari's grandfather was also there today. After leaving, Kang Ho was extremely grateful to Ji-hoon. Mari also said that she was truly conquered. Ji-hoon happily went over to shake Mari's hand because he still wanted to rely on her to get compensation money for Kang Ho. The compensation fee is the basic salary multiplied by 5. Because Kang Ho was imprisoned for 36 days, Kang Ho will receive a total of 13 million won, so Kang Ho's daughter will have money for medical treatment. After this case, Mari became a regular employee. The superior gave Mari a piece of paper. This piece of paper was the complaint that Mari had thrown in the trash the day before. The next day, Mari wore a pink outfit and brought her best friend to her grandfather's law office. Grandpa welcomed them to join his law firm. Grandpa even arranged jobs for them. Only Mari did not receive anything. Grandpa gave Mari a new internship address. If Mari could stay there for 2 months, she would receive Grandpa's recognition. After Mari arrived at the location her grandfather gave her, she immediately felt an ominous feeling. When Mari just got out of the car, everyone around looked at her with unusual eyes. This place was like a town isolated from the world. Mari saw the sign on the 2nd floor. She gathered all her courage and walked up there. Unexpectedly, Mari witnessed the scene of the landlady constantly cursing outside the law office. Mari could only wait for the other party to leave before approaching. Looking at the dilapidated shop, Mari was a little confused. The lawyer could not pay the rent. What kind of strange place was this? Mari tiptoed to knock on the door, but inside, it was strangely quiet. Mari was thinking that she had an excuse to leave when suddenly the door made a terrifying sound. Mari stood still in fear. The voice came from someone. Mari turned her head and was extremely surprised. Although Mari really wanted to leave, she remembered her grandfather's words. Only after Mari stayed here for 2 months could she enter the family law office. Mari struggled internally and decided to go back to that room. It looked scary inside. The ground was full of trash and empty bottles. Mari was not careful and stepped on the bottle. The 2 men were secretly doing something. After seeing the faces of the 2 men clearly, Mari was surprised. Mari thought the world was round and that she would meet familiar people wherever she went. Mari realized that this was the lawyer who had won her last time. Ji-hoon easily guessed that Mari came here to do an internship. Mari was embarrassed when she guessed the right target, but Mari still wanted to save face, so Mari said that Ji-hoon was delusional. But when Mari turned around, she dropped her application letter on the table. Moreover, the letter happened to be seen by Ji-hoon. When Ji-hoon was about to open it, Mari immediately stopped him. Mari was even more embarrassed, but Ji-hoon only got the envelope. Mari quickly ran back to grab the application letter. Mari saw the 2 men laughing loudly, so she became even more angry. At that moment, Mari was so embarrassed that she wanted to crawl into the ground. She decided not to apply for the job anymore and left. Mari went home and told her grandfather about the incident. However, her grandfather was not moved by his granddaughter's story. Her grandfather said that even if he were Mari, he would still lose to Ji-hoon in that lawsuit. This made Mari stunned. Her grandfather comforted her that she only needed to stay there for 2 months because his law office did not have anyone as good as that. Her grandfather wanted his granddaughter to go and learn. In the end, thanks to her grandfather's comfort, Mari still returned to that law office. Mari even helped Ji-hoon clean the room. Mari's attitude also became more polite. When Ji-hoon told Mari to pour a cup of coffee, she also obeyed. But even so, Ji-hoon still rejected Mari because Ji-hoon clearly remembered the words she had insulted him with before. Ji-hoon was indeed a person who held grudges. Mari stood up abruptly and began to argue, but Ji-hoon also did not endure and argued back with her. The atmosphere was filled with tension. Luckily, Mujang appeared in time to ease the situation, but Mari was still rejected from joining the office because she wanted to stay for the internship. Early the next morning, Mari came to the place outside Ji-hoon's office. Mari began to help Mujang record the families who needed help and register information. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon welcomed the first guest of that day. The guest was a little boy. The boy invited Ji-hoon to eat an ice cream bar that cost 1,000 won. Then he asked Ji-hoon to come help his grandfather. It turned out that the boy's grandfather worked as a security guard at an apartment complex. Every day his grandfather was ordered around by a man named Chun-bae. When Chun-bae saw his car scratched, he falsely accused the boy's grandfather. Chun-bae even grabbed the grandfather's necktie and stepped on the boy's grandfather's foot. Chun-bae wanted the boy's grandfather to remember everything. The boy's grandfather, because he had no money, could only endure humiliation. Just at that moment, Mujang and Mari came back, so the four of them went together to the apartment complex to meet the boy's grandfather. But they had not spoken many sentences when Chunbei suddenly appeared from somewhere. It must be said that Chunbei's driving skills were extremely bad. Chunbei drove without knowing how to slow down. When preparing to stop the car, his car even occupied 2 parking spaces. After getting out of the car, Chunbei did not apologize to others but only kept making a phone call. Chunbei even casually ordered the boy's grandfather to carry his things. At this moment, Ji-hoon could not endure anymore. He stepped forward and said that Chunbei's parking skills were extremely bad. Ji-hoon even deliberately stood in front of Chunbei to take photos. Ji-hoon also said that he would hand the photos over to reporters. Chunbei spoke threatening words, but Ji-hoon was not afraid. Ji-hoon revealed his identity as a lawyer, but Chunbei still despised him and continued to threaten. Chunbei told the boy's grandfather that he had money to hire a lawyer but no money to give Chunbei for car repair. When the boy's grandfather heard this, he was frightened and quickly advised Ji-hoon not to act. The boy, seeing his grandfather so timid, could not endure it and said that lawyer Ji-hoon had said he would help his grandfather. Ji-hoon said he would help the boy's grandfather teach a lesson to the bad guy who bullied others, and Ji-hoon also seemed to be touched by the boy's words. When Ji-hoon saw the scratch on Chunbei's car, he immediately searched for the things on his body and found a black pen. Ji-hoon gently drew a few lines on the car. Very quickly, the scratch was covered. This action made Chunbei go crazy, but everything did not stop there. Ji-hoon also pushed the cart that the boy's grandfather used in order to reenact the scene of the incident. But Chunbei criticized Ji-hoon for pushing too slowly and from too far away. When Ji-hoon heard this, he immediately understood. He used all his strength to push the cart straight toward the car. This action made everyone almost have their hearts stop, but the scratch left by the boy's grandfather was no longer there. In this way, the incident became Ji-hoon's responsibility. When Chunbei wanted to sue Ji-hoon, Ji-hoon had already prepared his lawyer to deal with it. Unexpectedly, the person Ji-hoon mentioned turned out to be Mari. As long as Mari passed this test, she would be officially recruited. When Mari heard this, she was extremely astonished. On the first day of her internship, she already faced difficulties. Ji-hoon used 1,000 won to invite Mari to be his lawyer. When Mari heard this, she was immediately shocked. Mari had never handled a case like this. Moreover, Ji-hoon himself had already taken action first. But if Mari did not accept this unreasonable request, then she could not intern here according to the promise with her grandfather. Mari was the daughter of 3 top law officers. Marie had never endured such grievances, but Marie did not know that this man who liked to play around actually had such great ability. For example, the chairman of a famous construction corporation here, because workers were injured during labor, he was arrested. The chairman did not hesitate to spend a large amount of money to hire Ji-hoon to help him. He even deliberately invited Ji-hoon many times, but was always refused. But today, Ji-hoon suddenly came and said he wanted to help the chairman reduce the punishment. But Ji-hoon basically did not need money. The chairman only needed to win the bingo game and Ji-hoon would agree to help him. In the end, because he did not understand the rules of the game, he kept losing. In fact, Ji-hoon's purpose in looking for him was because of Chunbei. Chunbei was exactly the subordinate of this chairman. Although Ji-hoon said with his mouth that he wanted Marie to resolve this case, in fact he himself was secretly observing. It was just that Marie did not know this matter, so she gradually lost goodwill toward Ji-hoon. From the case of crashing into Ji-hoon's car, Marie had already summarized 4 solutions. The first way was that Ji-hoon paid Chunbei 500 won for car repair. But if Ji-hoon paid for the car repair, then he did not need to invite Marie to help him. The second way was to let Ji-hoon go to prison. But if Ji-hoon went to prison, then with whom would Marie intern? The third way was to pray that someone crazier would crash into Chunbei's car. Clearly, from the 3 ways above, it could be seen that Marie deliberately wanted to make things difficult for Ji-hoon, so he was extremely disappointed with her. At this moment, Marie gave the last way. Marie gave 1,000 won to Ji-hoon and said that she would not handle this case and let him deal with it himself. After Marie gave 1,000 won, she let out a sigh of relief. After all, was also a wealthy lady. There were many law offices for Marie to intern at, so she did not need to endure. After Marie left, Mujang immediately followed her. Mujang was very unwilling to let Marie leave like that. At the same time, Mujang told her about one thing in the past. That was when Mujang got to know lawyer Ji-hoon. At that time, Mujang was just an ordinary worker. At that time, the factory oppressed the workers terribly, but lawyer Ji-hoon did not despise them for being poor. They only needed 1,000 won to be able to hire Ji-hoon as their lawyer. Even when both sides were fighting, Ji-hoon risked his life to rush in to help. even without weapons. Mari was somewhat puzzled. She thought that why should a lawyer go so far? Mujang said that he also did not understand. But Ji-hoon was exactly such a person. Any case that went through Ji-hoon's hands never failed. Mujang said so much, only because he wanted Mari to think it over again. At this moment, Mari could not give an answer, yet she said that she would think more. When she went home, Mari could not restrain her curiosity. She began to search online for the cases that Ji-hoon had handled when he was still a prosecutor. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon was also not idle. He was investigating even Chun-bae's personal driver. The cabinet was full of employee information of the corporation where Chun-bae worked. In fact, even if Mari did not help, Ji-hoon also had thousands of ways to deal with Chun-bae. The next day, Ji-hoon was extremely surprised because the young lady who yesterday loudly demanded to leave had returned. Moreover, Mari even built a relationship with the landlady. From their cheerful appearance, Ji-hoon realized that this month's rent could be postponed until next month. Ji-hoon raised his hand to welcome Mari back. After that, Ji-hoon took 1,000 won and handed it back to her. At this moment, Chun-bae's personal driver also entered the law office. From the driver's words, everyone knew that this job was really not pleasant, because when the driver had to slow down at the crosswalk, Chun-bae became angry and threw the bottle toward him. Even if he was unhappy, he would vent his anger on the driver. Chun-bae also many times trampled on the driver's self-respect. Because of that, his hand had once been trampled and broken. If it were not because of needing a high-paying job, the driver also would not endure such humiliation. When Ji-hoon heard this, he immediately decided to help the driver. But if so, then Ji-hoon not only handled the car case, but also had to add this case. This made Mari extremely troubled. Thus Mari quickly became an official intern. She thought of another solution. The next day Mari went to Chun-bae's corporation. Before the meeting, Mari also asked Chun-bae's secretary in order to win his favor, but the secretary's answer made her not understand, because she wanted to smoothly get through the difficult internship life. Mari still went to Chun-bae's office. When Mari saw Chun-bae's ugly and wicked face, she could not say a word. Chun-bae's arrogant face made her want to punch once. What Mari actually wanted to say was that she wanted to use money to resolve the matter of the car scratch the day before. But before she finished speaking, the office door suddenly opened. Ji-hoon entered like a god. Mari opened her eyes wide in shock and hurriedly picked up a magazine to cover her face. It turned out Ji-hoon had arrived one step earlier. He saw Mari sneaking here, so he followed. Ji-hoon of course knew what she wanted to do. Chun-bae was angry because Ji-hoon entered his office without permission. Unexpectedly, Ji-hoon turned the spearhead toward Mari. Ji-hoon said that Mari, because she could not endure, had gone to look for him. When Chun-bae heard this, he naively thought that Mari had been sent by Ji-hoon to tease him. Mari wanted to stand up to explain, but was pushed down by Ji-hoon. Ji-hoon said that she should endure because this was a matter of men. After that, Ji-hoon seriously lectured Chun-bae with reasoning. Chun-bae became angry and spoke out the truth. In fact, the car scratch was not caused by the boy's grandfather, but was caused by Chun-bae himself. But even if Chun-bae said the truth, the old man could not do anything, because that old man was afraid of having to bear all the blame and also had no evidence. Chun-bae was not afraid at all and mocked the old man. But this matter had already achieved Ji-hoon's purpose. Ji-hoon's purpose was to provoke Mari so that she would focus on dealing with Chun-bae instead of thinking of another way. Mari afterwards went to the boy's grandfather. Until now, he was still sad because of this morning's matter. He did not have much money, so he had to borrow everywhere. Now he had gathered enough money to give to Mari. The boy's grandfather only hoped the matter of the car could be resolved peacefully. The little boy also gave his only candy to Mari. She received the candy and said that was enough. While Mari was talking with the boy's grandfather, she also understood that at his age, having a job in the neighborhood was already very good. Although Chun-bae often bullied him, the other people in this area were still very enthusiastic. Moreover, earning money was also not easy. Mari finished talking and walked over to the trash bin. She was about to throw away the candy when the little boy behind her noticed. It was not that Mari did not want to eat the candy, but because since childhood she had been a rich young lady, so she usually ate candies that were 100 times more expensive than ordinary ones. The little boy, after seeing the price tag on the back, was frightened. He had not expected it to be that expensive. Mari encouraged the little boy. She told him that in the future, when he grows up, he must definitely take care of his grandfather. After that, Mari gave him all the beef she had just bought in the car. When Mari looked at the boy's figure gradually walking away, her mood also became more positive. After a night of thinking, she came up with a way that could benefit both sides. However, she still needed Mujang's help. In fact, if they wanted Chun-bae to compromise and the boy's grandfather not to lose his job, the simplest way was for Chun-bae to be respected by everyone. After Chinbei came out of the company, a group of reporters swarmed in like ants. Although Chinbei did not understand anything, he immediately blamed the boy's grandfather. But unexpectedly, Chinbei saw Mujang continuously praising him. Mujang said that when there was a bullying incident in the neighborhood, Chinbei was the first one to step forward and help. When Chinbei understood the situation clearly, he immediately put on a kind expression. Chinbei seriously answered the reporter's questions. That way Chinbei would not do anything to the grandfather and grandson anymore. On the contrary, Chinbei even had to thank them. The matter of the car had been resolved. Next, it was up to Mari to break Chinbei's good image. Over here, Ji-hoon went to stand in front of the chairman. After several days of thorough consideration, the chairman finally confessed. After it was smoothly passed, it was also the day of the first trial. Because he had Ji-hoon's help, the chairman was granted a postponement of punishment in the second trial. On the way back to the company, Ji-hoon again met Chinbei, who was looking for the chairman. Chinbei cowardly bowed to the chairman, but when Chinbei lifted his head, he saw Ji-hoon. Just like that, the three of them squeezed into the back seat of the car. Chinbei felt a bit worried because he noticed that the chairman's attitude toward Ji-hoon was somewhat unusual. When the three of them arrived at the company, all of Chinbei's employees were already there. The chairman hurriedly told everyone to disperse quickly, but Ji-hoon, standing beside him, stepped out. He officially declared war on them. Ji-hoon took out the stack of documents he had prepared beforehand and prepared to sue Chinbei. The chairman had just come out of prison, so he did not want to make things big. The chairman asked Ji-hoon what conditions he wanted to put forward. Ji-hoon's condition was very simple, but also very difficult to accept. It was that the chairman had to expel Chinbei from the corporation. However, the chairman hesitated a bit. Ji-hoon then thought of a way that would make him unable to refuse. That was to play bingo with him. The words Ji-hoon had just spoken immediately surprised everyone. If Ji-hoon lost, then Ji-hoon would give up on the lawsuit, and he would no longer intervene in their matters. After hearing this, the chairman gladly agreed. The bingo game was actually about forming 25 small squares on a large square. Then the positions of the 25 numbers would be shuffled. The two people could not see anything and only guessed the numbers on the board. As long as the numbers spoken connected into a line, that person would win. The game was about to begin. The blue bingo markers were Ji-hoon's team. The red markers represented Chinbei's team. But before starting, there was still one more rule. Both sides could not personally take part, but had to each choose one representative to read the numbers together. Chinbei, of course, chose the chairman to take part, and Ji-hoon chose Mari. Mari felt strange and did not know what Ji-hoon wanted to do, but she had no choice, so she went up. The numbers that Ji-hoon and Chinbei called out became more and more. The 25 squares were quickly half gone. When the chairman said number 17, everyone seemed to see hope. As long as he said number 23 or number 2, they could win, but the numbers Mari said were only 2 adjacent numbers. Not even 3 close numbers appeared. At this moment, Ji-hoon opened his mouth. He loudly criticized Chinbei for using the excuse of bullying subordinates. Ji-hoon wanted Mari to bring out a punishment measure. In a moment, Mari thought of the crime that Chinbei committed, which belonged to Article 2, Clause 76 in the law code. Because there was no number 76, she blankly said number 2. Immediately the atmosphere sank. Ji-hoon, seeing Mari so quick-witted, also let out a sigh of relief. The chairman did not say number 32, but instead said number 6. At this moment, Ji-hoon took the chance to give another hint. He continued to use the charge of arbitrarily threatening employees to give Mari a clue. This was Article 23 in the Labor Code. Now the danger had been resolved. But then the chairman said number 15, which opened up a new opportunity. Both sides would decide the victory or defeat at number 8. Ji-hoon did not wait for the opponent to think. He quickly hinted to Mari. Ji-hoon said that he wanted to use the name of reasoning and goodwill of a person practicing law to punish Chinbei. This made Mari remember the sentence Ji-hoon had once said to her. It was the sentence related to reasoning and goodwill on page 108 in the law book. Number 10 was already there, so only the last number 8 remained. 5 squares connecting into a line represented victory. Everyone in the hall cheered joyfully, and Mari also officially became Ji-hoon's intern lawyer. In the evening, the three of them went to eat together. Mari truly had a poor drinking capacity. After only a few cups of alcohol, she began to talk nonsense. Mari accidentally expressed her strange thoughts to Ji-hoon. Mari said that Ji-hoon's curly hair looked weird. Moreover, Ji-hoon always wore sunglasses, which looked extremely funny. As expected, after hearing this, Ji-hoon became angry and said that he would not let Mari be an intern anymore. Because Mujang still had a wife at home, he went back early. Only Ji-hoon and Mari stayed behind. Because Ji-hoon did not know where her house was, he took her back to the law office. When Ji-hoon saw Mari Marie sleeping soundly. It seemed as if he wanted to do something. Ji-hoon gently reached out his hand to touch Mari's eyes. This gentle action was like he wanted to caress her, but Ji-hoon suddenly raised 2 fingers to open Mari's eyes. It turned out Ji-hoon was only trying to use Face ID to unlock her phone. Even though Ji-hoon tried every possible way, he still could not unlock Mari's phone successfully. The next morning, Mari woke up. The embarrassing thing was that she clearly remembered everything that had happened last night. Mari was about to run away before things got worse when she discovered Ji-hoon was lying on the floor. On Ji-hoon's body, there was even a newspaper covering him sleeping. Mari gently put a coat over Ji-hoon and quietly left. When Mari reached the door, she felt like something was missing, so she looked back at Ji-hoon. Mari's phone was still in Ji-hoon's hand. Moreover, her mother was calling. When Mari lightly swiped the phone, unexpectedly, Ji-hoon suddenly muttered, "You open your eyes. If you open your eyes, then you can go home." Hearing this, Mari shyly wanted to sink into the ground. Mari had always been a young lady in the eyes of others, but last night, she truly lost all dignity. After Mari called her mother back, her mother said that she had already arrived downstairs at her daughter's place. Mari opened the window and saw her mother coming to meet her. Her mother even brought a makeup car to help her daughter freshen up. On the other side, Moo-jung brought the new detective novel to the office. Inside the law office, Ji-hoon was awakened. In Ji-hoon's mouth he was still muttering and then opened his eyes. At the same time, Mari, lightly made up, also arrived. Because Mari did not want Moo-jung to think too much, she said that last night she had left early. When Ji-hoon looked at the carefully dressed woman in front of him, if he had not known about last night, he would also have been deceived by her. After that, the law office welcomed a guest. It was a young girl named Jin-ah. Case that this girl wanted to entrust was a murder case. Hearing about murder, Moo-jung immediately trembled because Ji-hoon had never taken such a case before. But Jin-ah said that her younger brother in prison affirmed that Ji-hoon would definitely help her. This made Ji-hoon a little suspicious, but Jin-ah only left a file and quickly left. Mari curiously opened the file to look, but she had only just read a little when her face immediately changed color. This made Moo-jung curious too. He flipped it open and then said to consider it as if they had not seen anything. Ji-hoon, seeing the expressions of the two, then picked up the file. Ji-hoon opened it and only then knew that this was a murder case that shocked the whole country. Half a month ago, the person murdered was the mother of a young man named Min Jae. At 6 o'clock that morning, when the servant came to the owner's house to prepare breakfast, she discovered a horrifying scene. A woman covered in blood was lying on the floor. When the ambulance arrived at the hospital, the woman was already dead. Even though such a noisy incident happened in the house, when the police searched the house, they discovered Min Jae calmly bathing in the tub in another room. Of course, the person most suspected was him, because up until now, the whereabouts of Min Jae's father were still unclear. His mother suddenly died tragically. The relationship between Min Jae and his parents was not good, so he very likely killed his father and dumped the body. Then he returned to kill his mother. From then on, Min Jae was quickly regarded as a devil of the century. The one in charge of this case at that time was still a famous law office. The defense lawyer was therefore also regarded as a devil's lawyer. Because they could not withstand the pressure of public opinion, the court could only abandon the case. Moo-jung and Mari began to try to persuade Ji-hoon not to meddle in other people's affairs. But Ji-hoon said to Moo-jung that before this, Min Jae had really helped them. A few months ago, because Ji-hoon had no money to pay the rent, he volunteered in a social community. Min Jae also appeared at that time. Min Jae used his talent in painting to help Ji-hoon solve the rent problem. But afterwards, another problem appeared. Min Jae's painting talent was so good that surely he was not short of money. Min Jae could easily find a high-class law office. So why did Min Jae choose Ji-hoon's small law office? This was exactly a mystery. To solve the doubt, Ji-hoon took Mari into the prison to meet the one called the devil of the century. But when Mari first met Min Jae, her first impression was his indifferent expression. Min Jae affirmed that he did not kill his mother. The culprit was the father who had long been missing. The relationship of their family was extremely tense. At this time, Ji-hoon asked Min Jae another question. The high-class law office and his office had a very big difference. So why did Min Jae want to entrust Ji-hoon? Min Jae said that he had once wanted to ask other high-class lawyers for help, but they thought that Min Jae was using money to escape guilt. Therefore, Min Jae could only come to Ji-hoon. Mari at this moment warned Min Jae that if it was not because Min Jae lost to the judge, then he would not have had to sit in prison already. Min Jae should have carefully chosen a lawyer. But Min Jae said that he did not commit a crime, so he did not have to worry about that. Because the three people wanted to investigate the murder case, that night they went to a deserted villa. But when the three people went deeper inside, they only suddenly saw the scene getting darker and darker. On this side, Mari encountered an unexpected situation. In the large manor, a fourth person suddenly appeared outside the group of three. Mari was scared and hid behind a tree, her heart beating so fast that it felt like it was about to burst out of her chest. Luckily, at that moment, Ji-hoon appeared like a hero. It was Ji-hoon who comforted Mari's frightened heart. Maybe because the sense of security from Ji-hoon was so great, Mari gradually calmed down. Ji-hoon instructed Mari and then gently walked towards the other person. Could this be the painter who had disappeared for a long time? Ji-hoon approached and grabbed the other person's hand, but unexpectedly, it was Ji-hoon's long-lost best friend. At the same time, Min-hyuk was also Mari's childhood friend. It turned out that the two people were in charge of the same case, but Min-hyuk worked at the prosecutor's office, and Ji-hoon's group wanted to defend Min-jae. In order to investigate the murder case, Min-hyuk had already arrived at the villa before them, so the four of them went around the crime scene together. Ji-hoon told Mari and Min-hyuk to go together. Ji-hoon kept using his eyes to signal Mari. Ji-hoon wanted Mari to follow Min-hyuk as a spy, but in Min-hyuk's eyes, it was just a scene of a couple flirting. At this time, Min-hyuk and Mari went up to the second floor to investigate. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon and Moo-jang were on the first floor, where the crime took place. It must be said that if the man really killed his wife, he must be hiding here right now. But after the group investigated for half a day, they still didn't find anything useful. When Min-hyuk saw Ji-hoon and Mari huddled together talking, he felt uncomfortable. Min-hyuk interrupted them, wanting to invite Mari home, but she refused without hesitation. After the three of them got into the law firm's special car to return, Ji-hoon immediately returned to the scene. Ji-hoon felt that they were too focused on the disappearance of the murderer, so they missed superficial things, such as something on the wall. The next day, Moo-jang found a painting that had been sold by the artist himself. The selling price suddenly went up to 600 million won. Moreover, in each of the artist's paintings, a person holding an umbrella appeared. At the same time, with the help of the chief prosecutor, Min-hyuk borrowed the last painting that the artist had painted. After Min-hyuk looked at it, the painting was returned to the place of sale. On the other hand, Ji-hoon encountered a difficult problem. Last time at the restaurant, Mari recorded Jin-ah and the maid talking. However, because the distance was too far, even though Ji-hoon turned the volume up to the highest, he couldn't hear anything. After watching, Ji-hoon asked Moo-jang to make him a cup of coffee, and Ji-hoon followed the character's lip movements and started translating. After finishing the coffee, Ji-hoon had almost finished translating. Meanwhile, Mari went to the law office and said that she had translated the video. It turned out that Mari had asked her grandfather to get the lip reading technique from someone else, but Ji-hoon still believed that his translation was fine. Only after Mari brought the lip reading technique in front of Ji-hoon did he realize that he had translated it wrong. The two people in the video were talking about money. The maid said she wanted to quit. Jin-ah clearly didn't want to pay her. After the maid heard this, she suddenly threatened Jin-ah. But at the crucial moment, the waiter appeared and blocked the frame. If so, they could only go find Jin-ah to ask clearly. On this side, Jin-ah went to visit her younger brother in prison. Jin-ah told Min-jae about the day the maid threatened her. It turned out that night the maid told her where the painter, who was also Jin-ah's father, was. But Min-jae was extremely calm after hearing it. It seemed that Min-jae didn't care about this at all. Ji-hoon quickly went to Jin-ah. As soon as Mari met Jin-ah, she asked straight to the main topic. Mari said that she met Jin-ah at the restaurant last night. Ji-hoon felt a little helpless after hearing it. He gently changed to another topic. 5 years ago, Jin-ah's mother and the painter remarried. Min-jae, who was in prison, was not Jin-ah's biological brother. So why was Jin-ah so sure that he wasn't the murderer? Jin-ah said that normally Min-jae didn't even dare to kill insects, so how could he kill people? Moreover, after Jin-ah's mother and the painter remarried, the two of them often quarreled over some things. This was also the reason why Min-jae and Jin-ah speculated that they murdered the mother that night. But such a statement raised another question. If the truth was as Jin-ah speculated, then why did the mother mention Jin-ah and Min-jae before she died? Jin-ah couldn't explain this because she herself really wanted to know. After Ji-hoon and Mari learned about Jin-ah, the two of them went to the judge who was at the scene that night. They wanted to see clearly the last painting of the painter when he was alive. Unexpectedly, the judge told them that the painting had been sold today. Then the judge reported the situation here to the husband, who was a reporter. Ji-hoon went to the reporter's side. From the reporter's story, Ji-hoon knew that the artist had moved to that house 3 years ago. He often sat by the lake near his house to paint, which was also the lake in the last painting he painted when he was alive. The problem now is that they had to see the painting with their own eyes. In order to get that expensive painting, Mari took the initiative to call her rich mother. This was the first time Mari had actively asked for a gift from her mother. mother. That night, Marie and her mother went to the auction. Their noble aura made them look different from the rest. Those who could enter this auction all had money and power. Therefore, the final product put up for auction had a starting price of 8 digits. Each increase in price could not be lower than 10 million won. Although Marie was a rich young lady, she could only swallow her saliva at this time because the price of the painting had reached 180 million won. Marie's mother directly called out the price of 500 million won. She thought that victory was hers, but unexpectedly, someone offered 700 million won. But Marie's mother refused to give in. She directly raised the price to 1 billion won. The price of a painting is as high as 1 billion won. If anyone offered a higher price, they would be stupid. However, in this world, there really are people who are both rich and stupid. The guy who answered the phone directly raised the price to 2 billion won. This made Marie and her mother suddenly feel disappointed. At this moment, everyone couldn't help but sigh. At this time, in the prosecutor's office, Min-hyuk was watching the video of the chief prosecutor interrogating the suspect. Min-jae always had a calm and composed attitude, which made it impossible for the two of them to find any loopholes. This made them even more curious about Min-jae. At present, the painter's life and death were unknown. So, the circumstantial evidence was not enough to convict Min-jae. Min-hyuk went to look for the homeowner behind the villa again. He wanted to see the camera that night the incident happened. Unexpectedly, this tape was too far from the scene, so Min-hyuk couldn't hear any sound. Then Min-hyuk tried to watch it again from the first minute to the last minute. When it was almost over, Min-hyuk heard or thought of something. Min-hyuk immediately turned to the previous statement. In the statement, it was written that Min-jae saw his father that night. The father was wearing hiking clothes. He followed the small lake into the forest. From the dark video, it could be seen that it was not true. Moreover, Min-jae was lying, so Min-hyuk immediately told his assistant to investigate again. The next morning at the law office, because Marie had promised to bring the painting back, but last night, she couldn't buy it. Marie was extremely shy when she opened her mouth to Ji-hoon. However, Marie was worrying too much. Ji-hoon's mind was currently focused on the things they had investigated in the past few days. Especially after hearing about the artist's last painting, the attitude of the reporters and judges had changed. There was definitely something hidden between the two of them. At this time, Ji-hoon's package was delivered. Ji-hoon opened it to take a look. Marie and Moo-jan were both a little curious. However, after Ji-hoon saw the package, he said that he had solved the problem. First, Ji-hoon took down the painting hanging on the wall to simulate it. Ji-hoon discovered a detail in the house when he went to investigate. This was the trace of the painting that was originally hanging on the wall disappearing. A similar trace also appeared at the crime scene. That night, Ji-hoon had measured the size of that trace. It matched the size of the artist's last painting. This proved that the painting that was originally hanging on the wall had been switched by someone. That's why it became the artist's last painting. Ji-hoon then brought the sketch in his hand in front of the two people. This was the scene in the artist's painting. It was drawn at least 3 years before the painting, with the boy holding the black umbrella. But the artist's last painting was a lake scene 3 years earlier. This was very difficult to understand. Maybe this man in black was not drawn by the artist, but someone intentionally added it. Or it could be said that the painting at the crime scene had evidence that was unfavorable to the murderer. That person took advantage of this point to cover up the truth. Besides the artist, there was another person who could have drawn the boy holding the umbrella. On this side, Min-hyuk went to see Min-jae and said that he had discovered something surprising that night. Min-jae's expression after hearing that was immediately panicked. After that, Min-jae made a request. He wanted Min-hyuk to help him play a song. This song was what Min-jae had listened to while taking a bath on the night of the incident. After the music ended, Min-jae suddenly burst out laughing. Suddenly, Min-jae admitted that he had killed his mother. Of course, everything Min-jae said had been recorded, but Min-jae's proactive admission made the chief prosecutor suspicious. Meanwhile, the murder weapon and the artist's body had not been found yet, but Min-jae confessed just because he was caught lying. This was really too strange. On this side, Marie and Ji-hoon followed the print of the painting to the lake. There was originally a small house on the painting, but after they went to look again, they found that it had disappeared. At this moment, Ji-hoon seemed to have discovered a detail. Ji-hoon immediately went to the artist's villa and asked the maid if she knew anything about the artist. When Ji-hoon saw that the other party did not respond, he said that he actually knew the painter's whereabouts. Ji-hoon also knew everything that had happened. Every case would eventually come to an end, and the truth would be revealed. Ji-hoon had found out the story behind this case. It turned out that the painting hanging on the wall was not entirely painted by the painter when he was alive. To be exact, the scene inside was painted by the painter, and the boy holding the black umbrella was painted by Min Jae. Except for the boy holding the umbrella, the painting was actually completed 3 years ago. According to the data that Ji-hoon had found, the red house in the painting was demolished 2 years ago. But if this painting was really the painter's last work, then that detail was clearly unreasonable. Before that, Ji-hoon had invited experts to examine this painting. The experts said that the boy holding the umbrella and the scene by the lake were painted at least 3 years apart. This also means that the artist died 3 years ago. Hearing this news, Min Hyuk and the prosecutor were both extremely surprised because last night Min Jae himself revealed the location of his father's body. Min Jae also said that he was the one who killed his father. Not only that, Min Jae also pointed out the location of the murder weapon. Ji-hoon quickly answered everyone's questions. After investigating the matter, Ji-hoon went to find the maid. The maid told Ji-hoon a heartbreaking truth. 3 years ago, the artist cut his hand and left this world. Before Jin-ah's mother saw the artist, he and his son painted this picture together. It was because of this unique picture that Jin-ah's mother and her husband had their first conflict. Actually, that picture was painted by Min Jae, but he lied to save face for his father. However, very soon after, the painter's painting skills were discovered by Ji-ah's mother. The person who really knew how to paint was his son. It might not have been that important, but the painter couldn't stand the lie, so he cut off his own hand to free himself. But their family didn't announce the truth because of money. They even faked a disappearance. That night, the painter held a birthday party. This event was actually a lie by all of them. The painting's hanging position in the Yi gallery was actually another painting. However, because of an unexpected situation, that painting was destroyed. The person who destroyed this painting was Jin-ah. Although Jin-ah and Min Jae weren't biological sisters, when she saw him having to paint in the name of his dead father every day, she really couldn't bear it. Therefore, Jin-ah wanted to destroy everything so that her younger brother could escape the suffering. However, that night, Jin-ah and her mother had a conflict. In a moment of carelessness, Jin-ah stabbed her mother. Min Jae went over and saw a terrifying scene. Because he didn't want his sister to take responsibility, Min Jae immediately used the excuse that his father was dead and killed his mother to let Jin-ah off the hook. However, this was still not a perfect solution, so Min Jae left his fingerprints on the murder weapon. Min Jae also took down the destroyed painting and hung up the painting his father drew when he was alive to replace it. Because his father's painting didn't have a boy holding an umbrella, Min Jae added it himself. The next day, Min Jae announced to the public that he was the murderer. Min Jae was both in tears and mad, but he still insisted that he was the murderer. At this time, Jin-ah appeared next to him and began to comfort Min Jae. Ji-hoon also gently advised that if Min Jae continued like that, he would only make Jin-ah like his dead father. Jin-ah will become unhappy because of a lie. At this moment, Min Jae finally can't bear it anymore. Jin-ah hugs her broken brother. Besides concern, Jin-ah's heart is only torment. Finally, this murder case is over. After that, Min Jae is innocent and released. Jin-ah was arrested for accidentally killing someone. After coming out, Marie still can't help but be curious and asks Ji-hoon why Ji-ah's mother still mentioned Min Jae's name before she died. It's clear that Jin-ah was the one who killed her, but why did she still mention Min Jae's name? Ji-hoon hesitated for a moment, then gave an uncertain answer. Because the victim was a mother, even if her daughter killed her, she would find a way to protect her child to the end. After visiting her sister, Min Jae decided to leave this place. Min Jae started her life over as a painter. Before Min Jae left, Ji-hoon handed over the last painting the artist had ever drawn to him. This also became Min Jae's motivation to try to live on. Sometime after this matter had calmed down, Ji-hoon took a bouquet of flowers and went to the artist's grave. Ji-hoon wanted to commemorate the artist he once loved. Ji-hoon's true identity was gradually revealed. Ji-hoon was just a strange lawyer who couldn't even pay his rent, but he had the ability to buy a painting worth 2 billion won. So Ji-hoon only accepted 1,000 won to help the poor people demand justice before the law. The newly arrived intern Mari still didn't know what Ji-hoon's background was. Today, when Mari was sorting out the documents, she accidentally discovered a photo below. When she saw the girl in the photo, Mari couldn't help but doubt, wasn't this girl once an excellent lawyer at the Baek family law firm? Moreover, from the angle of the photo, it can be seen that this girl had known Ji-hoon before. This made Mari extremely curious, so she went to find Chief Prosecutor Soo-min, who had worked with Ji-hoon before, to ask about Ji-hoon's past. The truth must be told from the gathering after the investigation of the first case. At that time, the prosecutor's office was not as crowded as it is now. Their superiors often secretly laundered money and were corrupt with corporations. They were subordinates, so they could only ignore it. But at that time, there were two people who refused to follow their superiors' orders. They began to investigate a related corporation. That evening, Min Min-hyuk gathered a group of subordinates to investigate. Min-hyuk led them to the headquarters of that corporation, relying on the advantage of having a large number of people and the fact that Min-hyuk had obtained an investigation order. He confidently led everyone into the corporation's interior. However, the people on the upper floors were still busy destroying evidence. They were also not easy to deal with because they wanted to stall for time. They held Min-hyuk's group in the elevator. It seemed that Min-hyuk was a step too late, but at this moment another prosecutor appeared. This person seemed to have anticipated this and took the stairs. Although everyone in the office was busy, Ji-hoon calmly stood there looking for the important documents they had missed. After Ji-hoon handed the documents in his hand to the controller, he went to the office of the group's president. But at this time, President Kang had already destroyed all the evidence, and at the same time, he also called Ji-hoon's superior. But after the phone rang, Ji-hoon suddenly pushed the phone away from his hand. This made President Kang unable to predict. He was extremely confused because he clearly wanted to call the minister. Why did the minister's phone appear in Ji-hoon's hand? When Chairman Kang saw Ji-hoon being so arrogant, he called another high-ranking official in the prosecutor's office. But this was also in Ji-hoon's plan. The other official's phone was unreachable. At the same time, a prosecutor walked inside with a paper bag. Only then did Chairman Kang understand that he couldn't call for help because all the high-ranking officials' phones were in that paper bag. At this moment, Chairman Kang was a little panicked. He tried to find a way to save himself by calling the last person. He didn't expect that this call would get through. Ji-hoon had also guessed this because he couldn't get the phone from that person. When the call reached Ji-hoon, the person on the other end of the line kept shouting. He asked Ji-hoon to leave immediately. This person was the deputy minister with a very high position. At this time, Min-hyuk, after dealing with the outside matter, also went into the chairman's office. After Chairman Kang found a protector, he was extremely pleased and smiled at the two of them. But Chairman Kang was too happy too soon because these two prosecutors were people who worship justice with all their heart. Ji-hoon thought of a way to control Chairman Kang. That day happened to be an art film festival, so there would be many stars appearing on the red carpet, and what was indispensable was reporters. So Ji-hoon contacted a magazine reporter he had worked with before. In front of everyone, Ji-hoon and Min-hyuk handcuffed Chairman Kang and held them up high. This was truly a bold and unique idea. The news of Chairman Kang and the prosecutor walking the red carpet together made the front page of the newspapers. The next day, the minister was extremely angry when he saw it, but since this matter had been seen by the public, the minister could do nothing else. However, after the female prosecutor Soo Min went out, she had another question to ask Ji-hoon. Why didn't the vice minister fire him after knowing about this? Ji-hoon didn't want to answer. At that moment, Min-hyuk passed by and helped Ji-hoon out. Min-hyuk said that because his father was the vice minister's senior, he would take care of the whole matter. Although Ji-hoon and Min-hyuk had caught Chairman Kang, he would definitely invite the best lawyer to help. By then, Kang would most likely be acquitted. The interrogation of Chairman Kang began. As expected, Chairman Kang invited the Baek family's lawyer, the best in the area, to defend him. But lawyer Baek did not handle the case himself, but he assigned the important task to a young female lawyer. Ji-hoon and Ju-young have known each other since then. Also after that interrogation, Ju-young began to take interest in Ji-hoon. That day, Ji-hoon's side was sure to win. Up until now, no case had ever fallen into Ji-hoon's hands. Chairman Kang was also temporarily detained. After Ju-young left the court, she took Ji-hoon to a quiet resting place. Ju-young took out a cup of hot milk coffee from the coffee maker. Ji-hoon politely accepted the coffee and took a few sips. Unexpectedly, thanks to this cup of coffee, Ji-hoon, who did not like coffee, suddenly felt a sweetness. At this time, Ju-young also expressed her feelings to Ji-hoon. Ju-young also wanted Chairman Kang to be punished, but because of her position as a lawyer, she could not betray her client. Ji-hoon immediately comforted her and said that he could understand Ju-young. He also promised her that he would definitely make the guilty people receive appropriate punishment. Ju-young touched her lawyer badge. She solemnly asked Ji-hoon to win the case that day. The two stood next to each other, enjoying the quiet moment. But unexpectedly, when Ji-hoon continued to investigate this case, he found out a big figure that he could not have expected. In order to continue investigating the whereabouts of the secret money of the JQ group with the goal of capturing all those who supported Chairman Kang, Ji-hoon's group has now identified an important figure, the head of the finance department of the JQ group. Only he knows about their money laundering activities. However, the head of the department also has a lot of experience in the business world. What Ji-hoon thought of, Chairman Kang also thought of. Moreover, Ji-hoon did not know that after a few days of the head of the department's incident, Chairman Kang was bailed out by Baek's law office. On the way to the prosecutor's office, Ju-young asked if the chairman chairman still had anything to hide from her. Ju-young knew that Ji-hoon was an extremely powerful prosecutor, so Ju-young could not let any mistakes happen while working. However, how could Chairman Kang tell Ju-young all of that? Very quickly, the three of them met again in the interrogation room. Even though the other two had already discussed how to deal with Ji-hoon, they were unexpectedly stopped by Ji-hoon's question. Why did you kill the finance manager? When Chairman Kang heard this question, his pupils immediately dilated tenfold. Kang was scared because these words came from Ji-hoon's mouth. Those words were exactly what the manager had said to Ji-hoon that night. Ji-hoon achieved his goal and continued the interrogation. Ji-hoon asked if Chairman Kang had ever met the manager. Ju-young signaled that Kang didn't need to answer. However, Chairman Kang was no longer calm. Kang stammered and replied that he and the manager had met a long time ago. Ji-hoon continued to ask about the content of the conversation because the department head's last phone call was to Chairman Kang. Seeing that the lie was exposed, Chairman Kang quickly explained. He said that after the group was investigated, the department head had taken tens of billions of won from the company, so he wanted to make the department head confess. But the more Chairman Kang spoke, the more wrong he became. After Kang finished speaking, Ji-hoon brought a blue book in front of him. This was a savings book of 500 million won. After the department head went missing, Chairman Kang had secretly transferred that money to his wife, Ju-young, who was sitting next to him. Didn't know what to say. She thought that such a despicable person could not be defended. Chairman Kang, who was sitting next to him, saw this and continued to tremble. Kang's tone of voice also became awkward, but Chairman Kang was still very stubborn. He said that if he called the department head, was it a crime? Under everyone's observation, after Ji-hoon finished saying this, Chairman Kang finally couldn't sit still anymore. Ju-young said that she wanted to take a few minutes to rest. However, after Ji-hoon left, the conversation between Chairman Kang and the department head that night rang out in the room. Through this recording, Chairman Kang was likely to violate Article 253 of the Criminal Code, abusing power to force another person to leave this world. To put it simply, it was no different from murder. This was also the purpose of Ji-hoon calling them here. It turned out that night, Ji-hoon had found the department head who was about to end his own life. After the two talked, Ji-hoon assured them that the department head did not need to die. Not only that, Ji-hoon also said that the next time they met, Chairman Kang would be very happy that the department head was still alive. However, the price to pay was that both the department head and Chairman Kang would have to receive appropriate punishment for their crimes. Back to the present, Chairman Kang was urgently arrested because he abused his power to force others to end their own lives. When Kang was on the way to be escorted to prison, suddenly someone he never expected appeared here. At this moment, Chairman Kang happily ran over and held the manager's hand. When Chairman Kang saw the other person appear, he let out a relieved sigh. In this way, Kang would no longer have to bear the charge of murder. This was also the final step in Ji-hoon's interrogation plan. The case quickly entered the closing stage. Because there was a witness coming forward to testify, the case was soon brought to judgment. After that, Chairman Kang smugly sat in the car to the prison. Ju-young, as promised, invited Ji-hoon to drink beer. When the two of them were talking, Ji-hoon suddenly burst out laughing. It turned out that this cold man also knew how to laugh. When Ji-hoon sat next to Ju-young, he felt extremely comfortable. Love had begun to come to the two of them. After finishing the meal, the two walked on the street. Before saying goodbye, Ju-young asked Ji-hoon if he did not date. Ji-hoon calmly replied that indeed he did not date. When Ju-young faced this overly straightforward man, she did not know what else to say. Early the next morning, Ji-hoon continued to investigate the whereabouts of the money. In another conference room, the election campaign was taking place. This event made the people extremely concerned. It was the presidential election of South Korea. Unexpectedly, this person was none other than Ji-hoon's biological father. He was the richest prosecutor in South Korea at that time. The family assets of Ji-hoon amounted not only to hundreds of billions of won, but he also had a father who was about to be elected president. By reasoning, the future of the two father and son should have been extremely glorious. However, when Ji-hoon investigated a money laundering case, he accidentally discovered a shocking secret. Through the finance manager who had just been arrested, Ji-hoon knew that every time the manager went to get the money, it was always based on the address designated by Chairman Kang. The two sides never met each other, so the manager also did not know who the other person was. Moreover, every time that person used a different car, the manager could not remember the license plate number. If Ji-hoon wanted to investigate from the license plate, then this was impossible. Before leaving, Ji-hoon suddenly discovered a suspicious point. If the money launderer at that time was in the car, then he definitely would have seen the manager's face. Therefore, Ji-hoon immediately arranged for people, and they began to contact all the loan loan or pawn companies in the area. Because money laundering was originally an illegal matter, the regular companies certainly did not dare to do that. In this way, Ji-hoon could take advantage of this point to narrow the scope of the search. Ji-hoon focused on the small pawn companies. After Ji-hoon's men gathered the suspicious targets, they proceeded to bring in each person for interrogation. Each person was given an album, in which there was also a photo of the manager. If someone recognized him and showed an unusual expression, then it proved that person had met the manager before. After observing for a while, Ji-hoon discovered one person. After that, Ji-hoon immediately dismissed the others. Then, Ji-hoon took out the documents related to that person to study. Dae-ho had many times impersonated a public officer to lend money at high interest rates. A series of charges were enough for Dae-ho to sit in prison for several years, but Ji-hoon did not do so. He put each record of Dae-ho's charges into the shredder one by one. If Dae-ho was willing to tell the truth, then Ji-hoon would overlook those illegal matters of his. After that, Ji-hoon asked Dae-ho about the manager. After hearing, Dae-ho hesitated for a while, but very quickly he confessed everything he knew. Dae-ho said that the last time he met the manager was a few months ago. After Dae-ho delivered the money at the appointed place, he paid a little attention and saw that in the dash cam of the car, the license plate number was clearly recorded. That license plate was 3866. It was a black car. The numbers in the front were covered, so Dae-ho did not see anything. After finding out, Ji-hoon immediately instructed everyone to investigate this car, while Ji-hoon quietly went to his father's villa. Today was Ji-hoon's father's birthday. Because Ji-hoon's father was campaigning for president, Ji-hoon could only go to meet his father at night in silence. But when Ji-hoon went up to the house, he accidentally saw something. Ji-hoon's expression suddenly became unnatural. Ji-hoon originally wanted to talk to his father, but he used the excuse of work to leave. Because Ji-hoon discovered the license plate of a car with the ending 3866 that he was looking for. Without a doubt, the owner of that car was Ji-hoon's father. After Ji-hoon returned, he for the moment could not believe all of this. Ji-hoon opened the video of his father's presidential campaign speech to watch. When Ji-hoon saw his father seriously speaking, he still could not believe what was happening before his eyes. Because before Ji-hoon's father campaigned for president, he had once been a prosecutor with a not low position. It was his father who had trained Ji-hoon to become an outstanding prosecutor. None of this was known to anyone. Ji-hoon concealed his father's identity only because he did not want to receive special attention in the future. However, Ji-hoon still could not believe that his father was behind the money laundering case. But the things before his eyes had taken away his trust. The next day, Min-hyuk used the method of elimination, and in the end, he identified the figure who was likely laundering money. The mastermind could only be that person. Soo-min could not help but look toward Ji-hoon. Soo-min was the only one who knew Ji-hoon's true identity. Soo-min advised Ji-hoon that the case should end here because he could not investigate his own father. From that day on, Ji-hoon fell into silence. Ji-hoon's inner self struggled between justice and family affection, between public duty and private matters. At this moment, Ju-young appeared, and Ji-hoon suddenly came up with an idea. Ji-hoon asked Ju-young that if she encountered something terrible beyond her expectations, what would she do? Ji-hoon also revealed that he might have to investigate the person he respected the most. Ju-young replied that she would still investigate because that was the person she respected the most. Perhaps these words were the point that created a major turning point in Ji-hoon's life. After a moment of hesitation, Ji-hoon decided to follow the thoughts in his heart. Ji-hoon asked his father out to meet. Since Ji-hoon's mother passed away, this was perhaps the first time he and his father sat together eating hot black bean noodles. After the two of them exchanged a few words, Ji-hoon immediately told his father the purpose of this meeting. Ji-hoon said his father was about to receive a summons from the prosecutor's office. Ji-hoon's father also guessed that his son had discovered something. Before leaving, he hoped Ji-hoon could help him. As long as he became president, he would change all of this. However, Ji-hoon firmly refused. Next day, Ji-hoon's father was summoned to the prosecutor's office. All the important figures were present there. No one knew what Ji-hoon intended to do. After all, they did not know about the relationship between him and his father. After everyone heard that Ji-hoon's father would be interrogated, they all revealed surprised expressions. 4 people anxiously stood in front of the monitoring screen. 2 people inside the room began to conduct the interrogation. At first, Ji-hoon's father stubbornly insisted that he did not launder money until Ji-hoon presented a document, and then he fell into silence. After seeing the situation inside, the 4 people outside became uneasy because they were also members involved in this money laundering case. They believed that Ji-hoon would definitely grasp their weaknesses. To ensure their own safety, the other congressman prepared prepared to abandon Ji-hoon's father. They wanted to shift all the responsibility onto him, but unexpectedly, their conversation had already been recorded by the wiretap under the table. This was also the only way to make Ji-hoon's father change his mind, through which he could clearly see the true nature of those people. In the end, they still chose to let Ji-hoon's father bear everything alone. Finally, Ji-hoon's father admitted his crime. In his hands, he also had a list of other congressmen who participated in money laundering. He said that the list would be sent to Ji-hoon. After that, the two of them left, but Ji-hoon's father did not hurriedly return home. Instead, he took the elevator to the 18th floor. His assistant called Ji-hoon and said he could not find Ji-hoon's father. Suddenly, a bad premonition appeared in Ji-hoon's mind, and he quickly ran outside to call his father. At that moment, it was also raining outside, signaling that something terrible was coming. Suddenly, a loud sound rang out. What Ji-hoon could not have imagined had happened. His father had jumped from above. Ji-hoon's heart seemed to stop beating at that moment. His entire mind became blank, and the tears blended into the rain. Ji-hoon's expression was one of extreme pain. He could not believe the scene unfolding before his eyes. At that moment, the phone fell from his father's hand. A number was calling in. After Ji-hoon picked it up, the other party said one sentence. "You are still there, aren't you, Congressman Kim?" That phone call made Ji-hoon realize how great the consequences of his oversight were. This incident made Ji-hoon both heartbroken and regretful. The death of his father might also have been related to people in the political world. Ji-hoon's father's sudden death threw everything into chaos. Because the prosecution service wanted to calm the matter, they used the excuse that Ji-hoon's father had received political funds and was discovered by a prosecutor. So he chose to end his own life. Because the dead cannot open their mouths to argue back. At this moment, Ji-hoon pressed the accelerator to the maximum. He drove madly to his father's house. Because Ji-hoon remembered that his father had once said that he had a list recording all the congressmen involved in money laundering. Ji-hoon had to find out the culprit who caused his father's death. However, while Ji-hoon was searching, his older brother named Ji-woo suddenly appeared. Ji-woo loudly scolded Ji-hoon. He believed that it was because of Ji-hoon that their father had died. At this moment, since the funeral of their father had not yet begun, Ji-hoon must not do anything foolish anymore. The minister of the prosecution service also went to meet Min-hyuk and Soo-min. He used an extremely stern attitude to warn the two of them not to continue investigating this case any further. On the day Ji-hoon's father was buried, Ji-hoon could only stand from afar and observe everything. Although on the outside, Ji-hoon looked like a normal person, his father's death also brought him a significant impact. In one trial in the afternoon, Ji-hoon sat there like a stone statue. Ji-hoon's face was pale. Ji-hoon sat motionless until the judge loudly called his name. At this moment, Ji-hoon hastily looked for the case file. This scene happened to be seen by Ju-young. In the evening, Ju-young asked to meet Ji-hoon. She did not know that Congressman Kim was his father, but Ju-young still gently comforted Ji-hoon. Although Ji-hoon was very touched by Ju-young's good intentions, these words had no effect on Ji-hoon at all. After Ji-hoon himself told the truth, he left, leaving only Ju-young with shocking news. The only clue now was the last phone number that called Ji-hoon's father. However, that phone number was called by an impersonator. To find the culprit, one could only start with the impersonators, who were people who specialized in impersonating other people's phone numbers. Ji-hoon still used the old method, summoning them to check their transaction history and assets. The big figures were gradually brought under investigation. Therefore, Ji-hoon offended quite a few high-ranking political figures. The superiors had no other choice. He could only let people rush into Ji-hoon's investigation team. They directly destroyed important clues related to the case. Then the superiors asked Ji-hoon not to continue investigating, or he would face retribution from those money launderers. Finally, under pressure from the minister and superiors, Ji-hoon was forced to temporarily stop the investigation. Ji-hoon still could not find the person who called his father. From that day on, Ji-hoon became grumpy and strange. Every day, Ji-hoon drank to drown his sorrows on the street. Until one day, when Ju-young and her colleagues gathered to eat and drink, she accidentally saw Ji-hoon. Ju-young quietly followed Ji-hoon. The sky was pouring rain. Ji-hoon raised his head to look at the sky. Then, he lay down on the ground to let the rain fall on his face. It seemed that it made Ji-hoon feel more comfortable. The rain woke Ji-hoon up. He knew he could not give up like that. But when Ji-hoon turned his head, he saw Ju-young lying next to him. The two of them just lay on the ground, looking at each other. Only when Ji-hoon saw Ju-young could he smile. The two of them had made a promise that if Ji-hoon smiled at her 3 times, he would agree to stay by her side. And this time was also the 3rd time. After Ju-young and Ji-hoon had been dating for 2 years, Ju-young took the initiative to resign. Ju-young went to a small town that was bustling and united. At the same time, Ju-young rented a large large room on the second floor. Ji-young was preparing to turn this place into a law office. On the official opening day, Ji-young planned to have Ji-hoon quit his job as a prosecutor to manage the newly opened law office with her. But Ji-hoon did not want to quit his job as a prosecutor. Although 2 years had passed, Ji-hoon still could not forget that case. As long as Ju-young was still a prosecutor, he believed that one day he would find the murderer who killed his father. However, what happened next changed Ji-hoon's life. When Ji-hoon saw the person he loved in front of him, a thought came to his mind. Perhaps it was time for Ju-young to give up the case he had been pursuing for 2 years. Ji-hoon had a girlfriend who always cheered him on, but for the past 2 years he had not fulfilled his responsibilities as a boyfriend. So that night, Ji-hoon asked Ju-young out. He knelt down and took out the wedding ring he had prepared in advance. Ji-hoon solemnly expressed his feelings to his girlfriend. When Ju-young saw Ji-hoon's serious appearance, she couldn't help but smile. Happiness came so suddenly that Ju-young thought it was all an illusion. It wasn't until Ji-hoon put the ring on Ju-young's finger that she realized everything was not a dream. What made Ju-young even happier was that they were about to get married. The following days were extremely happy for both of them. They successfully obtained a law firm business license. However, when Ju-young got out of the elevator, she accidentally bumped into a man. Both of their documents fell to the ground. Ju-young panicked and apologized and returned the documents to the other party. It was because of this collision that the case that seemed frozen 2 years ago became heated again. The other man brought the documents to a high-ranking leader, but after the other party took the documents, his face changed color because what he was holding was a law firm business license. Even more dangerous, the license also clearly stated Ju-young's office address. This time, Ju-young was very likely to be in danger. Very quickly, this high-ranking official sent an assassin to ambush near Ju-young's office. At this time, Ju-young already had her first client. Mu-jang went to the front door of the law firm and asked about Ju-young's commission fee. Ju-young hesitated for a moment and then said that Mu-jang did not need to worry about the commission fee. When Mu-jang heard that she only charged 1,000 won, she breathed a sigh of relief. The two of them started talking about the case. After Ju-young sent Mu-jang away, she called Ji-hoon while preparing to take out the business license in the document. However, when Ju-young opened the document, the information in front of her was top secret. What was even more surprising was that the information mentioned Counselor Kim Ji-hoon's father. Just when Ju-young realized that, the assassin had already entered the office area. Fortunately, after the assassin entered, Ju-young was lucky to leave one step ahead. Ju-young seemed to have discovered something scary in the document, so she prepared to go to the procuratorate to hand it over to Ji-hoon. The assassin in the office also couldn't find what he was looking for, so he immediately chased after Ju-young. Because Ju-young couldn't call a car, she could only take the subway. Ju-young hugged the documents tightly, and at the same time, she called Ji-hoon. The two agreed to meet at the train station. Ji-hoon happily held a bouquet of flowers and walked to the subway station. On this side, Ju-young did not know that the assassin was constantly approaching her. Ji-young saw that they were about to reach the train station, but she discovered that something was wrong. But in the end, everything was too late. What awaited Ji-hoon was a scene that could not be more painful. A bad premonition gradually grew in Ji-hoon. When the train arrived at the station, Ji-hoon waited outside for a long time, but he did not see the person he loved appear. When Ji-hoon moved forward, he saw a terrifying scene. People on the train were panicking and jostling to get out. Ji-hoon quickly ran towards the crowd. Unexpectedly, the person he had been waiting for all this time collapsed on the seat. There was also a very deep wound on her stomach. When Ju-young saw Ji-hoon, she tried to apologize and then fell into silence. After a period of intense emergency treatment, the doctor still could not save Ji-hoon. After Ji-hoon lost the person he loved the most, his life once again returned to darkness. Ji-hoon's heart was now empty. Ji-hoon even doubted, what was the meaning of him becoming a prosecutor? Could he only helplessly watch his loved ones leave him? To avenge Ju-young, Ji-hoon decided to punish the murderer who murdered her. But the next day, the murderer took the initiative to go to the prosecutor's office to confess. Ji-hoon was already standing there waiting for the murderer. The two met at the elevator door. The man saw the wedding ring on Ji-hoon's hand, but he did not understand what was going on. Ji-hoon was sure that he was not the murderer who killed Ju-young. The real murderer was still at large. Afterwards, Ji-hoon went to clean up in Ju-young's law office. The place had been completely changed, but it was missing its owner. Ji-hoon raised his head and looked at the paper sign that read, "The commission fee is 1,000 won." When Ji-hoon put the 1,000 won bill into the tube, he couldn't help but burst into tears. Ji-hoon really hoped that Ju-young could appear before him again and that she could become his attorney. At this moment, Mu-jang walked in. After Ji-hoon knew that Ju-young had accepted his case, Ji-hoon made a quick quick decision. Ji-hoon would replace Ju-yeon as his attorney. Back in the present, after Mari heard of Ji-hoon's tragic situation, her tears flowed like a stream and she couldn't hold back. Ji-hoon's life was truly tragic. First, his biological father laundered money and then ended his life. Then, his lover was assassinated. Immediately, Ji-hoon's position in Mari's heart changed. Just at this moment, Ji-hoon received a call from Soo-min, so he also came here. When Soo-min saw Ji-hoon appear, she immediately made an excuse that she had urgent business and left first. Mari was currently drunk. When Mari saw the lawyer she admired in front of her, her eyes suddenly revealed an unprecedented gentleness. Ji-hoon had his own suffering that he could not tell. Ji-hoon did not know that Mari had heard about his past, so he thought that Mari was drunk and talking nonsense. Mari said that Ji-hoon must have had a very miserable life. Ji-hoon was indeed a straightforward person. Ji-hoon said that having to take a drunk intern home was really miserable. However, Ji-hoon's tone of voice was still very gentle and soft. Just when Ji-hoon asked for his home address, Mari fell asleep in front of him. The next day, Moo-jang went to the office very early. Moo-jang was engrossed in watching car ads. He didn't notice that Mari had arrived, because Moo-jang's old car had been used for several years, and recently it had broken down a lot. So Moo-jang found a car dealership that sold cars at very cheap prices. After Mari looked at it, she kindly reminded him that this was probably a scam because a good car couldn't be this cheap. There was definitely something fishy about this dealership, but Moo-jang didn't pay attention after hearing it. Moo-jang thought that as long as he pretended to be the director of a law firm, he wouldn't be afraid of being scammed anymore. When Ji-hoon arrived at the office, Moo-jang had already arrived at the car dealership. After Mari saw Ji-hoon arriving, she was no longer as arrogant as before. Ji-hoon suspected that Mari was up to something. After Ji-hoon sat down, Mari took the initiative to make him coffee. This made Ji-hoon very hard to believe. Moo-jang thought that Mari was going to ask him for something. He understood that there was no such thing as a free lunch. Mari's enthusiasm definitely didn't mean anything good. Ji-hoon spoke his mind. Her unusual reaction today was indeed a bit strange. Here at a used car garage, Moo-jang had changed into a different set of clothes to find the person in charge. First, Moo-jang said he had just finished working at the auto repair shop. Then, Moo-jang said he was the director of a law firm. After Moo-jang confirmed that the price of the car was the same as the one on the internet, he immediately started to test drive it. In short, it seemed that Moo-jang was very satisfied. Just when Moo-jang was happily preparing to sign the contract, the other party said that the car sold to Moo-jang had problems. First, the front hood engine made a strange noise, and the car often shook violently. What was more serious was that the car was leaking fuel. Moo-jang, naive, saw this and easily fell into the trap. They enthusiastically introduced Moo-jang to another car. The price of the car was a little more expensive than this car, but this car looked very good, no different from a new one. After that, the car seller continuously praised that car. Hearing those flowery advertisements, Moo-jang became extremely delighted. He used all his savings to buy this car. On the way back, Moo-jang began imagining how he would show off this new car to everyone. He was excitedly pressing the accelerator to 80 kilometers per hour when the car suddenly caught fire. Moo-jang stepped out of the car with an angry face. Moo-jang kept the condition as it was, and with a face black as coal, went to find the garage manager. Moo-jang demanded them to refund the money, but, of course, the other party did not agree, because Moo-jang had already signed the contract. Not only did Moo-jang fail to get the money back, but he was also embarrassed. At the same time, inside the prosecution office, they were conducting a report about several newly occurring cases. Recently, there have been situations of fraudulent car sales appearing everywhere. At the same time, they formed a fraud syndicate with a leader at the top giving instructions. Because this matter was related to money laundering activities, the police had to catch the leader so that this criminal group could be completely destroyed. At this time, Ji-hoon had been waiting all day but still did not see Moo-jang go to work, so he went directly to the laundry shop. When Ji-hoon saw the shabby appearance of Moo-jang, he quickly guessed what had happened. Seeing Ji-hoon, Moo-jang immediately could not hide this matter and began to state everything clearly. After Ji-hoon listened to what Moo-jang said, Ji-hoon spoke out about the whole process that fraudsters usually used to sell cheap cars online. They lured customers into traps, then sold another car at a higher price to the customers. A moment later, Ji-hoon brought two colleagues to the fraudulent car sales place. This time the one facing directly was Ji-hoon, while Mari and Moo-jang were hiding in another place. After the car seller finished introducing the car, he began to use the same trick as before. After waiting for Ji-hoon to test drive the car seller said that this car had some problems. Moo-jang had also been deceived by this trick. First, the car made strange noises. Then the car shook. Finally, the car leaked gasoline. Even more outrageous than before for was that the tire also fell off. But this was exactly the car that Ji-hoon was looking for. After a somewhat exaggerated performance, Ji-hoon immediately told the other party to bring the contract here. At this moment, the car seller felt that something was not right, so he wanted to run away. Seeing that, Ji-hoon also immediately chased after him. The two of them played a chasing game in the car garage. In the end, Ji-hoon, because he was running too quickly, carelessly fell to the ground. Seeing that, the car seller laughed gleefully and mocked Ji-hoon. But the scammer laughed a little too soon, because right at that moment, Ma-ri from behind him rushed up like a goddess. Ma-ri threw Ji-hoon's fallen shoe straight at the head of that car seller. After that, the two car sellers were caught and confessed everything. They said that they were only 23-year-old kids. Their superior was still the manager, who was the one controlling everything. After Ji-hoon heard this, in his mind immediately sprang up a more interesting play. Ji-hoon wanted he and Ma-ri to infiltrate the fraud syndicate. When the manager saw that the person coming to apply for a job was a female, he immediately revealed a pleased smile. But at this time, Ma-ri suddenly said that she would devote herself to working according to the assignments. The manager was amused. He felt very interested in this lovely girl. Together with the recommendation of the car seller beside him, Ma-ri and Ji-hoon successfully infiltrated the fraud syndicate. But next, they had to split up to act. Ji-hoon held the notebook and began recording everything. The car seller at this moment brought a list of things that new employees needed to pay attention to, and at the same time, he instructed Ji-hoon to memorize it. But Ji-hoon's mind was placed on the group of men in black who had just passed by. Ji-hoon then pretended to have a stomachache to trick the car seller. After that, he secretly followed those men in black. After Ji-hoon successfully entered inside, he heard a very important piece of news. Before 1 p.m. tomorrow, they must obtain 100 million won. Suddenly, there was a voice calling Ji-hoon to turn back. Luckily, the car seller appeared in time to resolve the situation for Ji-hoon. Otherwise, Ji-hoon would have been in danger. At noon, Ma-ri prepared a hearty meal for each person. After all, those who worked as fraudsters did not have money. They had reached the end of the road and had to do this job. Their nature was not bad. However, when everyone was eating, the manager and the group of men in black suddenly came. The manager casually asked how everything was going. Ji-hoon had a bad feeling. The manager walked over and kicked the car seller hard because the car seller dared to be disrespectful to him. The manager took out the sales record to scold him. The manager forced him to quickly make money. At this moment, the subordinate beside him told the manager about one matter. But before the subordinate could finish speaking, he was interrupted by him. Although Ji-hoon did not hear clearly what they were talking about, he heard that at 2 hours and 30 minutes p.m. tomorrow, they would begin to act. In the evening, after Ji-hoon's group returned to the office, Ma-ri had collected the conversation content of all the people who had been deceived. Inside were recorded many fraudulent tricks. At this moment, Ji-hoon also spoke out about his own speculation. The words that the subordinate had not finished surely meant that they must gather enough 100 million won. This amount of money would then be handed over to the boss above. After that, at 2 hours and 30 minutes p.m. tomorrow, they would gather and go to a certain location. That meant they were not ordinary gangsters, but a nationwide fraud organization. This manager was simply the person in charge of this area. Tomorrow, the managers of other regions, including the ringleader, would definitely appear. But with only 3 people, they could not stop the criminals. Therefore, Ji-hoon remembered another person who could help them. The next day, there was an unavoidable transaction. The manager suddenly came and asked who could sell a supercar for 100 million won within 30 minutes. After hearing this, everyone did not dare to speak. Only Ji-hoon very confidently told the manager that he would definitely be able to do it. But when Ji-hoon saw that the customer coming to buy the car was Min-hyuk, Ji-hoon lied that he had no money, so he had to work here. After that, Ji-hoon led Min-hyuk to the garage. Ji-hoon skillfully displayed the trick that the fraudsters usually used. Ji-hoon very naturally showed his performance. After letting Min-hyuk test drive the car, Ji-hoon said that the engine had a strange sound and the car was leaking fuel. After that, Ji-hoon introduced Min-hyuk to a better car, more reasonable, more luxurious, but still maintaining sophistication. It was a blue-purple car. Min-hyuk foolishly was deceived by Ji-hoon like that. Indeed, Ji-hoon also had great talent in this profession. Everything proceeded according to plan. 100 million won went into Ji-hoon's hands. His mission was completed excellently. Just like that, Ji-hoon not only gained the manager's recognition, but he was also trusted by the manager and brought to the transaction location. But the fraudsters could never have expected that this matter had been discussed beforehand by Ji-hoon and Soo-min. Soo-min sent someone to cooperate in acting with Ji-hoon. At the same time, they also attached a hidden camera in the suitcase containing the money. Of course, Min-hyuk knew nothing about all of this. After that, Soo-min's Su-min's group got into the black car and chased after the manager's car. After they went down to the parking lot, Su-min's group parked the car nearby. At this moment, the police had not yet arrived, so Su-min and his teammates did not dare to risk going down. On this side, Mari and Mu Jiang blocked the emergency exit upstairs. Down in the parking lot, the mysterious ringleader had arrived at the scene. The managers from all over the country also gathered here. At that moment, subordinate ran over to report that there were police outside. Immediately, the whole scene went out of control. But just as the fraudsters were preparing to leave, Ji-hoon drove his car to block the only exit. At the same time, Ji-hoon displayed a very cool acting performance. At this moment, everyone got out of the cars one after another and walked towards Ji-hoon. Unexpectedly, when Ji-hoon saw this, he became even more arrogant. He cursed and scolded them as a bunch of fraudsters. When the fraudsters saw Ji-hoon's arrogant attitude, they immediately grabbed sticks and smashed the windows of his car. Meanwhile, the ringleader followed his subordinate's guidance and went out through the stairs. But the police were already waiting outside for them. Just like that, the ringleader was caught on the spot. At the same time, the police, armed with weapons, stormed down into the parking lot. The police and the fraudsters began to fight fiercely, while Ji-hoon quietly prepared to leave. In the end, the three of them drove away from the place in a van. However, they did not know that, in the suburbs not far from there, a kidnapping had occurred. A high-ranking official received a strange phone call. After he returned to his car, he was injected with drugs by a man in black who was already sitting inside. After the man in black finished dealing with it, he gave a smile and then left. The next day, the man in black from last night appeared again at Ji-hoon's law office. After the two of them looked at each other for a while, Ji-hoon's right hand, which wore a wedding ring, unconsciously clenched tightly. The old case had just passed, and a new case had already come. Tae-min wanted Ji-hoon to help him with something. Ji-hoon expressed that he wanted to know the specifics, but Tae-min said that people who do big things will inevitably get involved in unethical things. Then, Tae-min said that as long as Ji-hoon helps him handle this matter, Ji-hoon can get as much money as he wants. Ji-hoon's acting was very good. At first, Ji-hoon refused Tae-min's case, but when he was about to leave, Ji-hoon called Tae-min again, causing him to misunderstand that Ji-hoon was just a money-hungry lawyer. After Ji-hoon successfully tricked Min-tae into seeing his ID, Min-tae's expression immediately changed. Ji-hoon asked Mari to print out this ID. Tae-min also found a topic to talk about. The issue of the commission fee was a good choice. Tae-min asked Ji-hoon if the commission fee was 1,000 won. Ji-hoon replied that it was, but this time the fee would be different. Ji-hoon said that 1,000 won would be calculated by the second. Every second is 1,000 won, so 1 hour would be 3.6 million won. Tae-min didn't get angry after hearing that because money wasn't a problem for him. The commission fee didn't matter. Ji-hoon was stunned for a few seconds, his doubts becoming more certain. Ji-hoon stood at the window staring at Tae-min. At this moment, Mari brought out the ID card that had just been printed out, but Tae-min's face was not on the printed ID card. Ji-hoon immediately remembered the story of Ju Young being killed 3 years ago. Combined with Tae-min's gaze just now, Ji-hoon realized something. Ji-hoon ran like crazy out into the street looking for Tae-min everywhere. Mari checked the other person's address and phone number in the room, but all the information was wrong. At this time, Ji-hoon searched without any results, so he returned. Because Ji-hoon didn't want the other two to know about his story, he gave a reason to answer perfunctorily. Just like that until night, Ji-hoon suddenly had a nightmare. Mari had never seen Ji-hoon so strange. Mari remembered what Su-min had said to her. For many years, Ji-hoon had been looking for someone. Mari was startled to realize that the man this morning might be the person Ji-hoon was looking for. In the smoky deep forest, Tae-min was calling a mysterious person. It turned out that Tae-min's purpose in finding Ji-hoon was to confirm whether Ji-hoon recognized him or not. After Tae-min informed her that Ji-hoon did not recognize him, he threw the fake ID card into the fire. All the information, including his full name, was fake. On this side, Ji-hoon accepted Mari's invitation and went to a beer shop. Ji-hoon ordered a portion of dried fish that he and Ju Young often ate, but Mari was not very interested in this dish. Ji-hoon quickly demonstrated for her. After Ji-hoon finished peeling the fish scales, he dipped them in some sauce and then took the initiative to feed Mari. But he didn't expect Ji-hoon to just want to tease her. Mari didn't know what to say to this strange lawyer. However, Ji-hoon really hadn't smiled so brightly for a long time. After hesitating for a while, Mari decided to speak her mind. Mari hoped that Ji-hoon could smile more. She hoped that he wouldn't be immersed in sadness and the past anymore. When Mari saw that Ji-hoon was silent, she immediately spoke about her daytime speculation. Mari thought that Tae-min was the person he was looking for. At the same time, Mari hoped that Ji-hoon could consider her and Mu Jiang as friends. Ji-hoon could take them along to catch Tae-min. Even Even though Ji-hoon knew Mari's good intentions, he still refused. He didn't want them to get involved in this trouble. But Mari mentioned the word wish, which made Ji-hoon really embarrassed. Because before, Ji-hoon had agreed to fulfill Mari's wish. Now Mari's wish was to help Ji-hoon. When Ji-hoon saw the sincerity of the girl in front of him, he was so moved that he almost cried. The next day, Moo-jang, after knowing everything Mari told him, was ready to join the action this time. Because there was no picture of Taemin, the three of them could only use a pen to sketch Taemin's face. But neither Ji-hoon nor Moo-jang had any talent for painting, so they drew two pictures that looked exactly like the person they were looking for. Luckily, Mari was an art genius, so she saved the situation. The other two people had to admire and praise her after seeing her. Compared to the other two's drawings, Mari's work was truly on another level. Thanks to Mari's realistic drawing, Ji-hoon's group quickly went into action. To verify Taemin's identity, three people went to the fake murderer and said they wanted to reduce his sentence. They told him to take a close look at the first person he met that day to see if it was this person. The fake murderer looked closely at the photo and recalled the scene that night. Because the fake murderer had no money to pay his debt, he was tied up by these people. When he thought he was about to die, suddenly someone brought him back to life. A person holding 300 million won walked in front of the fake murderer and told him to take the blame for the murder on that person. After confirming that Taemin was that person, Ji-hoon asked the fake murderer about the location of the casino. But after the three people went to that location, they discovered that it had long been a warehouse. But the prints on their shirts felt very familiar. Ji-hoon's group quickly went to find Chun-jin. This warehouse was opened by Chun-jin, so he would definitely know the location of the casino. Chun-jin was in this business after all. After some investigation, the three of them finally located the real location of the casino. They were fully prepared for the riot. The image of Ji-hoon's group appeared on the screen. There were many betting games here, but the players never won because the owner had many tricks to take their money. On the way here, Ji-hoon took out all his savings. Ji-hoon divided the 1,001 bills among Mari and Moo-jang. Ji-hoon only kept one bill and went to a fish tank in front of him. The group took turns betting on which direction the fish would swim. Ji-hoon discovered the man's cheating at first sight. Then, the play began. The small fish really swam in the direction the man spread the food. With Ji-hoon's sharp eyes, he only needed to glance to find the key point. Ji-hoon just smirked, then he quickly took out a 1,001 bill and placed it on the table. Although Ji-hoon on this side is extremely favorable, Mari and Moo-jang on the other side are not so lucky. Although they are immersed in the joy of betting, luck is not on their side. However, the most attractive place here is probably the position where Ji-hoon is standing. Ji-hoon's appearance even attracted the attention of the casino boss. When everyone was still excited, a group of men in black appeared and took Ji-hoon away. The bustling scene immediately quieted down, but before Ji-hoon left, he did not forget to take his intern with him. Then the three people went to a dark room. The casino boss begged them to leave this place. At the same time, the boss had prepared a sum of money for them. However, Ji-hoon's attitude was very different. Ji-hoon's current attitude was very similar to a rich gangster boss. Ji-hoon looked at the pile of money on the table and disdainfully said that this amount of money was not enough to buy snacks. Ji-hoon then turned around and said that the boss only needed to tell him the whereabouts of one person. The boss looked at the painting and thought for a long time. Then, he said that he had a slight impression of Taemin. At that time, the boss received a call. The person on the other end said that someone would help a debtor pay him. Ji-hoon immediately grasped an important clue. He asked who called the boss. However, the result that the boss gave was unexpected to Ji-hoon. It turned out that the person who called the boss was Chun-jin. This made Ji-hoon furious. He just wanted to go and hit Chun-jin a few times. Under Ji-hoon's pleading, Chun-jin told him another clue. Not long before, Taemin was still in contact with him. Taemin asked Chun-jin to help stop a director of K Company. This director was about to participate in an activity at a hall. Taemin asked Chun-jin to prevent the director from going to the hall. But after Chun-jin finished planning for his subordinates, Taemin called and said he didn't need them anymore. However, there was one thing that Chun-jin felt was a coincidence. A few days later, the news reported the death of that director. Ji-hoon asked for the location of that activity hall. Then Chun-jin found a letter, which was the invitation letter for that activity. On this side, Taemin walked in front of the mysterious person, because when he finished dealing with the director, Taemin would have the opportunity to replace that director's position. The mysterious person seemed to have predicted that Taemin would kill the director, but Taemin was just a subordinate. How could he replace a powerful director? Suddenly, the mysterious person said, if two dogs bite each other, they can also injure their owner. What do you think about this? Taemin immediately became nervous after hearing this. Fortunately, the mysterious person was just joking, because the director's death had attracted the attention possession of the prosecutor's office, and not long before, Congressman Kim Ji-hoon's father had ended his own life. The vice minister of the construction group also died in a similar way. Through the surrounding cameras, the prosecutor confirmed a black car with license plate 9510. They immediately went to the car's location through the surveillance camera. This car had been parked here for 3 days. However, the camera was too blurry, so the prosecutor could not identify the identity of the murderer. They could only risk ambushing in the car. Just when things were tense, Min Hyuk went to the bathroom. Soo-min was alone in the car at the time, and she discovered the man's whereabouts. After Soo-min confirmed the correct target, she quickly took out her phone and called Min Hyuk. Unexpectedly, the man did not get in the car, but drove away in the car next to it. In the urgent situation, Soo-min had no choice but to tell Min Hyuk to stay while she drove to chase the man. A dramatic surveillance scene took place. Fortunately, the phone finally connected. After Soo-min told Min Hyuk the license plate number, she continued to follow the man. But the result was that Soo-min still couldn't catch up with the other party. Just when Soo-min was about to turn left, an accident happened. Because someone was passing by at that time, Soo-min turned the wheel and crashed into the VUB truck. Of course, Soo-min lost track of the target. When the prosecutors gathered, although Soo-min lost track of the target, they found the invitation in the car with license plate 9510. Very quickly, it was time for the event. The 3 of Ji-hoon's group drove to the location. Because they wanted to look like rich people, the 3 of them dressed extremely luxuriously. They naturally went inside. Then the 3 of them split up to search for the target. As promised, not long after Ji-hoon's group entered, Min Hyuk and Soo-min also came with invitations. They started to split up. Mari on this side was trapped by a young master. On the other side, Ji-hoon also bumped into the person he wanted to see the most. Ji-hoon chased after that person, but when Ji-hoon kept following him, Ji-hoon saw a scene that he could not have expected. Taemin walked in front of a person and suddenly bowed respectfully. The other person was very familiar. That person was the owner of Baek Law Firm. That was also the office where Ju-young used to work. Ji-hoon recalled the day the incident happened, which was also the day Ju-young resigned from the law firm. This scene was really something Ji-hoon could not have expected. After lawyer Baek left, Ji-hoon took a knife and followed closely behind. The murderer who killed Ju-young was right in front of him. Ji-hoon couldn't help but calm down. He held the knife and walked closer to lawyer Baek's back step by step. Unable to contain his hatred, Ji-hoon held the knife and walked closer to lawyer Baek, step by step. At the same time, Taemin also seemed to feel that something was wrong, but when he turned his head to look, he saw nothing unusual. Ji-hoon had already disappeared. He didn't choose to attack there. Reason reminded Ji-hoon that he couldn't easily forgive the person who killed Ju-young like that. The hall was attracting many big shots, most of whom were from the procuratorate. It turned out that there would be an auction here, because a mysterious figure would also appear here. Mari told Ji-hoon the clues she had discovered. It turned out that the man surnamed Cha, who came to their office last time, was the secretary of the president of JQ Group. When the president of JQ Group was mentioned, the hall suddenly erupted in enthusiastic applause. Big characters that people normally don't meet appear here. And Chairman Choi is the final boss of the auction. The starting price is 10 million won. The highest bidder will have the opportunity to have dinner with Chairman Choi. Below, someone quickly made a high bid. The number quickly reached 50 million won. When everyone thought this would be the highest price, suddenly someone bid 100 million won. Everyone looked towards the direction of the sound. Unexpectedly, that person was Ji-hoon, a lawyer who couldn't even pay the rent. Chairman Choi's expression changed after seeing Ji-hoon. From Chairman Choi's voice, Ji-hoon had already determined one thing. That year, the person who called after his father died was Chairman Choi. In other words, the person who was really behind the manipulation of everything was him. The event ended very quickly. Taemin happily went to his office, but Ji-hoon was there one step earlier than him. Ji-hoon meant to remind him that Taemin was the one who murdered the person he loved. Taemin saw that his identity was exposed, so he took out a knife from his pocket and slowly walked towards Ji-hoon. But Taemin did not expect that Ji-hoon had such profound martial arts skills. Ji-hoon slammed the book straight into Taemin's chest, causing him to almost suffocate. When Taemin knew that Ji-hoon was not easy to deal with, he did not hide his strength anymore. However, facing a master like Ji-hoon, this knife was basically useless. Taemin at this moment was no different from a crying dog. He kept begging Ji-hoon to spare his life. Suddenly, a series of memories from that year appeared in Ji-hoon's mind. It was Taemin who used this knife to take Ju-young's life. When he was about to stab Taemin, Ji-hoon stopped in time because he remembered something Ju-young said. Ji-hoon decided to temporarily spare Taemin this time. After returning, Ji-hoon attached all the important clues to the board. The mastermind behind this was the chairman of JQ Group. He was the one who ordered lawyer Baek and Taemin Tae-min to kill someone. When Ji-hoon saw lawyer Baek's photo, he felt a little tormented because his niece Mari was next to Ji-hoon. Could it be that she would make the same mistake as he did that year? The next day, Ji-hoon went to the office to meet with Mari and Moo-jang. After Ji-hoon thought about it all night, he finally made a decision. Ji-hoon gave up the chance to meet Chairman Choi. Ji-hoon seriously asked Mari a question. If the person she respected the most did something that made her hate the most, what would she do? Mari did not fully understand the meaning behind Ji-hoon's words, but she answered sincerely that she could not be like Ji-hoon that year because Mari was not as strong as him. Hearing this, Ji-hoon also made a choice for himself. Before leaving, Ji-hoon took off his sunglasses and put them on Mari's face because the sunlight outside was too bright. Ji-hoon then said goodbye to the two and left the place. The two looked at each other in amazement, not knowing that this would be the last time they would see Ji-hoon. As for Ji-hoon, after he visited Ju-young's grave, Moo-jang immediately received a text message. It was Ji-hoon's farewell. At the same time, Ji-hoon also left Mari a letter in which Ji-hoon wanted to say something to her. A year later, Mari returned to her family's law firm. Mari became the company's top lawyer. She handled all cases professionally, no matter how big or small. But there was one thing she could not find out: Ji-hoon's whereabouts. Even though Ji-hoon left without an appointment, Mari and Moo-jang were still at the law firm regularly. They took care of Ji-hoon's fish tank and cleaned it. Ji-hoon is now in a small town far away. He has become a part of the community here. After Ji-hoon left the law office, he chose to return to work as a 1001 lawyer here. Ji-hoon is introducing to everyone about his achievements. 55 wins, 1 draw, 0 losses. This illustrious record comes from theft cases, car accidents of leaders, or even cases of criminals called the devil of the century. Soon after, Ji-hoon received a new client. An old woman came to Ji-hoon. She said that her son was arrested by the procurator not long ago. She hoped that Ji-hoon could bring his savings and this letter to the procuratorate. The old woman insisted that her son did not make a mistake, so she hoped that the procuratorate could release him. Ji-hoon took the item. He looked at the pale-faced old woman before him and told her to go home and wait. After returning, Ji-hoon read the old woman's letter. The letter mentioned JQ Pharmaceutical Group. When Ji-hoon searched for information online, he found only news about researchers being arrested because of drug side effects. The next day, Ji-hoon fixed his hair and wore his usual sunglasses to go to the procuratorate. There, Mari was being given flowers by a guy. However, when Mari was brushing her hair, she saw a very familiar figure. She couldn't believe it and immediately ran to that place. Only when Mari came in front of Ji-hoon did she realize that it was not an illusion. Indeed, the person Mari saw was Ji-hoon, but Ji-hoon denied it while running. Ji-hoon was scared by Mari's scolding. He immediately went into the elevator to go downstairs. However, Ji-hoon still faced Mari's questioning. She asked him where he had been before and what he was doing now. Immediately, everyone in the lobby stood still, not daring to say anything. After Mari made an appointment with Ji-hoon to meet downstairs, she quickly went downstairs with a bouquet of fresh flowers. She then continuously hit Ji-hoon in the face with flowers. Mari was very angry that he left without saying goodbye. At this time, Moo-jang also came to this place. Moo-jang had received Mari's message before. After the greetings were over, the three of them gathered together again. After a year, Ji-hoon's appearance made Mari and Moo-jang both helpless and angry. Actually, Ji-hoon had made everything clear in the previous letter. It was just that Mari did not pay attention to the remaining letter. Later, Ji-hoon explained to the two that when Ji-hoon almost killed Tae-min, Ji-hoon felt that his heart was also affected. Therefore, Ji-hoon decided to leave and he would return when he found a way to handle the problem. However, Ji-hoon did not say anything about Mari's grandfather. After returning, Mari actually found another letter in the envelope which wrote the purpose of Ji-hoon's departure. The next day, Ji-hoon went to the familiar law office. The fish in the tank were still swimming around under Mari and Moo-jang's care. Moo-jang finally waited for the owner of the house, and Ji-hoon no longer avoided it. Ji-hoon generously transferred the rent, electricity, water, and other expenses of about 15 million won to the landlady. In fact, Ji-hoon receiving a commission of 1,000 won did not mean that his account only had 1,000 won. Moo-jang was very surprised. At this time, Mari had just arrived. In fact, Ji-hoon's words last night had made her less angry. However, Ji-hoon still sincerely apologized to the two of them and invited them to join his team. Ji-hoon wanted to compete with lawyer Baek's office. In the end, the three of them got back together. The small room was bustling again and filled with laughter. Then it was time for Ji-hoon to carry out his revenge plan. The first person Ji-hoon chose was Tae-min. When he saw Ji-hoon disappear for a year and then reappear, Tae-min was extremely frightened. Tae-min is now the director of JQ Group. Tae-min's appearance is now very upright. He no longer looks like someone who has done many evil things. Ji-hoon went over to greet him a few times, making Taemin panic. Ji-hoon did not hesitate and went straight to the main topic. Ji-hoon told Taemin to tell his superiors that he was back. This time he would not hide like before. After Ji-hoon left, the three returned to the prison to find the man who took the blame for Min-jae. They they give him one last chance to get out of prison, which was to help them appeal and then ask for release from prison. The fake murderer listened and did not believe that Ji-hoon would win the case. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, the other three burst out laughing because Ji-hoon was a lawyer who had never lost a case. Looking at the expressions of the three, the murderer pretended to be confused. After a while, he finally had to believe it, but the three of them still did not forget the legal fees, which was 1,001. After that, Ji-hoon led the two to the villa where he lived. Although Moo-jong had heard that Ji-hoon had a lot of money, Moo-jong did not expect that Ji-hoon lived in such a big villa. Mari was concentrating on looking at the photo of the suspect stuck on the glass, which included her grandfather. Ji-hoon saw that and immediately took down the photo of Lawyer Baek and told Mari that her grandfather was definitely not a bad person. The reason Ji-hoon could say that was because he had previously gone to find Lawyer Baek alone. Through the conversation, Ji-hoon realized that he was an upright person. To confirm, Ji-hoon showed Taemin's photo and asked Lawyer Baek if he knew this person. Lawyer Baek did not hesitate to answer that he had met Taemin at an event. His every action and look made Ji-hoon sure that Lawyer Baek did not participate in the assassination of Ju-young. Mari breathed a sigh of relief after hearing that. Then she and her two teammates began the process of action. First, they went to Taemin, who was playing golf, and showed him the alibi of the fake murderer in Ju-young's case. Although Taemin was very angry, he still tried to stay calm. Marie and Moo-jang, standing nearby, also secretly took pictures. It seemed that everything stopped there, but unexpectedly, Ji-hoon followed Taemin like a ghost. Wherever Taemin was, Ji-hoon appeared there. Ji-hoon's purpose was very simple. That was to let President Choi see the intimate photo between Taemin and Ji-hoon. With his suspicious nature, Choi would definitely misunderstand that his subordinate betrayed him. Sure enough, everything developed as planned. President Choi saw the photo and immediately called to question Taemin. Taemin saw the photo and quickly explained, but President Choi didn't believe it at all. To show his loyalty and to eliminate future trouble, Taemin was ordered to kill the fake murderer. The next day, Ji-hoon went to the prison to prepare to meet the fake murderer, but he was told to wait because the fake murderer was in the hospital room and in a coma. The hospital had already sent out the notice. Taemin had already finished his work. Then Ji-hoon went to the hospital to meet Soo-min. It turned out that he had arranged everything on purpose. That evening, Ji-hoon guessed that Taemin would definitely take action, so Ji-hoon deliberately lured him out to get evidence of poisoning. As long as Ji-hoon made this news public, Taemin would definitely be arrested for murder. The news spread very quickly, and people all over the country knew about Taemin's crimes. Even President Choi was affected by this incident. Choi called Taemin to arrange a meeting at a location. President Choi said he was going to get him out of here safely. In fact, President Choi's intentions were not hard to guess. Those who know too much must die. President Choi wanted to prevent future trouble, so he prepared to kill to silence them. Taemin was surrounded by a group of people. At this moment, a black car rushed over. Ji-hoon began to psychologically attack Taemin to make him understand that he was no longer of use to President Choi. Taemin could not bear the shock at this time, so he told Ji-hoon everything. Ju-young was indeed killed by him, but at that time, Taemin only wanted to steal the top-secret documents. As for Ji-hoon's father, it was also related to the secret of the JQ Pharmaceutical Group. But before Taemin could finish speaking, President Choi called. When President Choi heard Ji-hoon's voice, his tone immediately changed. But before Choi could speak, Ji-hoon did not give him a chance to speak. President Choi was extremely worried at this time. It was not until the third call that Ji-hoon agreed to meet him. At this time, Mari received Ji-hoon's instructions. She returned to her grandfather's law office and logged into her account. She quickly found the documents about Ji-hoon's father. Mari's first task was to inform Ji-hoon of this news. It turned out that if JQ wanted to expand the company, the law would have to expand its management of the production of painkillers and anesthetics. After Ji-hoon got the information, he immediately went to see Chairman Choi. This was the first time the two had officially met. Ji-hoon recounted what Mari had just told him. Chairman Choi wanted to make excuses when he heard this information, but Ji-hoon did not allow him to say much. Ji-hoon directly said that Taemin had revealed these things. Chairman Choi's expression immediately changed. Then Ji-hoon began to provoke. Ji-hoon also had a hidden camera on him. As long as Ji-hoon filmed Chairman Choi admitting to the murder, combined with the witness's testimony, Ji-hoon would have enough evidence evidence to convict him. But Chairman Choi was a stubborn person. Even if he died, he would not admit to the murder. After the first failed attempt, Ji-hoon went to find Ma-ri to get the documents and met with Min-hye. They filmed Tae-min admitting that he was the murderer and Chairman Choi was the mastermind. Ji-hoon gave this document to the prosecutor. The document also contained a list of money laundering council members that year. As long as the prosecutor could prove that this document was valid, they could prove that the JQ group was in cahoots with political figures. However, this money laundering list was from 3 years ago and was basically impossible to find. Just when Ji-hoon and the others were having a headache, Tae-min suddenly said that he had sneaked into Ji-hoon's father's office to steal part of the list. Although the original was submitted, Tae-min was still hiding the photocopy. According to Tae-min, Moo-jang went to his office and found the photocopy. After Ji-hoon looked at it, he realized that the list and the top secret document matched. This was the evidence for Chairman Choi to admit to the murder. First, Ji-hoon posted all his findings online. After making a fuss about this, Ji-hoon let Tae-min call Chairman Choi and pretend to report that he was going to confess so that Chairman Choi could escape suspicion. Choi really believed this lie, but Choi made a request, which was also what Ji-hoon wanted. That was, Ji-hoon went to meet Chairman Choi alone. The meeting went as planned. That evening at the port, Chairman Choi led a group of people to surround Ji-hoon. If so, Ji-hoon would fall into an extremely dangerous situation. Ji-hoon could die if he was wrong for just 1 second. But only when Ji-hoon took the risk could he overthrow Chairman Choi's last hope. But the price to pay was indeed very high. Chairman Choi had fallen into the trap. He did not detect Ji-hoon's plot. Choi's face was smug as he looked at his prey. Ji-hoon also acted very well. He once again asked the important question: did Chairman Choi order Ju-young to be killed? Chairman Choi excitedly admitted that he did it. At this time, Ji-hoon basically no longer had the ability to threaten Choi. Chairman Choi was smug and told the reason for Ji-hoon's father's death. That night, Choi called Ji-hoon's father. Because Ji-hoon's father did not want his son to be implicated, he chose to end his own life. Now Ji-hoon was about to die in Chairman Choi's hands. After speaking, Choi held a gun to Ji-hoon's head. At this time, Chairman Choi still did not know that all of his actions had been recorded by Ji-hoon's hidden camera. After Ji-hoon filmed the evidence, he immediately twisted the gun and dropped it, then turned around and ran away. Unexpectedly, Chairman Choi was also very agile. Before Ji-hoon could run far, he picked up the gun and pulled the trigger. In the moment of life and death, Ji-hoon quickly jumped into the sea. At the same time, Tae-min admitted his crime. Soo-min led Min-hyuk in front of the other counselors and played this video. The scene in the video was what happened that night, including all the crimes that Chairman Choi admitted. With this evidence, the prosecutor's office could not cover up Chairman Choi's crimes. In the end, the 2 high-level chambers could only order Chairman Choi's arrest. With enough witnesses and evidence, the chairman of JQ Group was sentenced to life in prison. Currently, there is only the case of the counselor colluding with JQ Group, which is handled by a special prosecutor, and that person is Ji-hoon. It turns out that Ji-hoon did not die that night. After Ji-hoon regained consciousness, he quickly called Ma-ri. 3 months later, the case was settled. On the day the case ended, Ji-hoon arrested the director of JQ Group and the money laundering counselors on the list. All of those people were handed over to the court to handle. Ji-hoon returned to his law office. Not only did he create a miracle, but he also became a hero in the eyes of everyone. But Ji-hoon's commission fee was still only 1,000 won. Why 1,000 won? Because Ji-hoon is a 1,000 won lawyer, a lawyer who always appears when others need him most. Ji-hoon is strange but extremely righteous and precious. Today's movie ends here. See you again in the next videos.